Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Bring it all in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to J is for Justice. Welcome back. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. If you have not already, we are getting close to 110,000 subscribers. Can I get some fucking freaking turkeys for that? Turkeys. Thank you for being here. It is almost Thanksgiving week, y'all. Are you guys ready for Thanksgiving? Thanks for joining. We have so many membership anniversaries coming in hot. We've got Carrie at 31 months with J is for Justice. Thank you so much for your support. We have Shell with a whopping 54 months with J is for Justice. I have no words for 54 months. That is crazy. Thank you so much, Shell. I appreciate you so much. Lucia with 31 months. If you guys have an anniversary, go ahead and share it in the chat. 34 months for Melissa B. Wide open cooter. Miss Robbins got 27 months. So exciting. Hey, Pearl, be careful driving. Ride or die, Shell, ride or die. 54 months. That's crazy town. Hey, it's a testimony to the channel. Hey, Dan and Ida from Emmett, Idaho. Hope it's good out there in Idaho. Hey, Golden Fleece. Hi, Jacqueline, Bama, smoked turkey, deep fried turkey. Mrs. Smith, going on a trip. Pumpkin pie and turkey lurkey. Hey, Global. Hi, Black Eagle. Good to see you. Black Eagle may not be a member of the channel, but she is definitely an OG. Thanks for being here, Black Eagle. Hi, McKenna. Cheryl T is an OG as well. Hi, Cinnamon Hot Hot Hot. You're another OG. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Gary. Gary, good to see ya. Good to see ya. I'm sure you guys are all excited to see her sentencing here of Leilani Simon. She is facing life in prison. So let's read this latest article that just came out 30 minutes ago. Leilani Simon is expected to be sentenced on charges related to her son's murder. Officials found 20-month-old Quinton Simon dead at the waste management landfill site in Chatham County, Georgia in 2022. Officials combed through 1.2 million pounds of trash. Oh my gosh. Over 30 days searching for Quinton. Simon was convicted on 19 charges last month, including malice murder, felony murder, concealing the death of another, false report of a crime, and making a false statement. Snazzy, thank you for joining. Hey, no better time than now. Start racking those months up. Thank you so much. Casper, so good to see you. You found me through another channel I was on. That's awesome. Snazzy, welcome to the club, man. Yeah, she's heartless. Jammers. Hello, Miss Ann. Beautiful Ann. Nay, nay. Jay, I listened to your live as I was going to sleep last night. I dreamed we were all in your living room listening to you, and then Julia walked in. That's a nightmare. Oh, shit. I wish you guys were all in my living room with me, though. That'd be awesome. Angie, okay, but I don't do Windows. Hey, Jenny. God bless law enforcement. I know 1.2 million pounds of trash for 30 days. Hey, Doobie Scooby. What's up, Sin and Kels? Sophia. Yes, he's doing better. He's improving every day, Sophia. Thank you. He's much better. Thank you for thinking of him. That's so nice of you. 9mm and lipstick. Life without parole isn't good enough for her. I think I saw Calvin Klein here too. Those are a lot of charges. Her sentencing is expected to take place at the Chatham County Courthouse. Judge Tammy Stokes will preside over the hearing. Simon was accused of assaulting her son with an unknown object before disposing of the body in a trash bin. Officials arrested her 2 days after Quinton's body was found. They said Leilani Simon is not a mother. She is a monster. So I wonder if anyone will speak. Like, will her mother speak today? Oh, hey, Ministry. I got to remember that's your new name. Thank you so much, Sophia. It's been working. Does Quinton have a burial site? He needs flowers after this. I don't know, bad girl. Retired EMT, what's up? How you doing, Miss Liverbird? Spitting seeds over here in J is for Justice. I appreciate you, Granny Watchers. Maggie B, good to see you. Hello, Jacqueline. Welcome in. Robats in the house. The gang's all here, man. Dolly Vision are there. We just got audio with court, so I clicked over to that to see what's going on. It's not supposed to start till 1:30, but I know I got to remember 9mm Ministry. Don't mess with Ministry, 9mm. Hey, Lucid. Good to see ya. Maggie Bay. I know the Cooter Gang's all here. It's good to see you guys this afternoon. I thought it was Friday today. I woke up today thinking it was Friday. Gary, thank you for becoming a member. Gary is now a lawful listener of J is for Justice. Thank you for your support, Gare. My fellow Michigander. Good afternoon, Sandy. Gary, thanks for your support. That means so much to me. It really does. I'm not going to be like Ben. Oh, Ben. Gary, are you going to be my Ben George? He says, I hope you don't have too many more channels. I'm running out of money. Tara. Good morning, Tara. Hey, Evelyn. Did you do that too? I thought today was Friday. Gary's hilarious. Yesterday was a great duo live. We need more of them. Yes, I love them. Welcome to the green team. You thought Thanksgiving was today? Well, we got a little bit of time. I want to tell you guys a little bit about what we've got planned for next week. So some of you may or may not know that there is a brand new Netflix documentary coming out Monday the 25th on Jon Benet Ramsey. Put a 1 in chat if you have followed Jon Benet Ramsey all these years or at all. Put a 1. Put a 2 if you don't know much about it. Hey, Julianne. Who else just joined? Sandy. I think I missed somebody and it's going to bother me. Who did I miss? Hey, Kaleida Hope. Good to see you. Oh, the snoring dog was perfect. I'm just waiting to see one too. I don't know. I think everybody pretty much knows Jon Benet Ramsey. Mark Klein. I'm picking up what you're laying down, buddy. I am. Hey, Rachel. Hey, Jason. Welcome in. Anita. Hope you guys are doing well. So followed here and there. I see a lot of ones. So Monday, the new documentary comes out. We're going to watch that in our J for Justice and Everyday with J Discord. And then I have been talking to, I don't know if you know what? I guess I'll ask this. if you follow Jon Benet Ramsey, have you ever heard of the Zell brothers or the Zell brothers theory or anything about Frank and Jim Zell? Let me know. The Ramseys are in the same South Park episode as Susan Smith. Weird. I want to know if you guys have ever heard of the Zell brothers. They investigated this case for 28 years. They did a 3-part podcast on True Crime Garage. I think it was last year, or maybe like 8 months ago. Could have been the end of last year, beginning of this year. So Frank and Jim Zell are from New Jersey / New York, and they're going to be coming on the show. They're going to be coming on the show next week. As soon as we finalize the time, I will let you guys know. But they're going to come on and share what they have discovered, what their theory is with all of us. And we're going to go over it. It's going to be probably like a 3-hour live stream. We will be taking questions as well. So I hope you guys will join us. This is going to be a walkthrough of the Zell brothers theory. Yeah, we're all stumped. And I think you'll find out why when you see everything that they uncovered. Their theory is a sex ring. I understand that, Kels. That's kind of like some of the cases I follow that happened before I was born as well. But their theory is a sex ring. It revolves around Boulder. And mostly the church that the Ramseys attended. So it's a lot of information. I hope you guys will join. I think what we're going to have to do, because it's going to be 3 or 4 hours because they have so much. And I want them to be able to go and explain everything that they're telling us, because there is so many different players that didn't necessarily kill Jon Benet, if you will, but have skin in the game, if you will, if her killer was, brought to justice, if that makes sense. Yeah, so if you want to look them up, they have a website. It's called In the Zeller. They also have an X account. Here, let me show you real quick. I'm so excited for this. In the Zeller, I'll show you what their website looks like. Oops. In the ZELLAR.com. I think. I might have to Google it. Yeah, here it is. In the Zeller. So they're brothers, 2 brothers shining light into dark corners since 1993. Theories are one thing, but they don't bring justice. Well, they might. I think that if you just have an open mind, like they asked me to ask you guys just to come to this fresh without everything the media has gone over, everything that kind of just come to this live stream with a fresh mind on the case, fresh eyes. That sounds like it will be fascinating. Thanks for bringing that to us. You're welcome. So if you want to check out, it's inthezeller.com. They have blogs. Good guys, though. We spent about an hour on the phone the other day, and they're really funny, really easy to talk to. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. I think it's, something we've never heard before. Yeah, watch with an open mind. Thanks, Casper. Hey, Tim Sparks, Seba Wing. So here's their X account. You guys want to follow them. But like I said, they've been on. Here's the post. The problem with the Ramsey case is that no one ever looked at the town itself, just what was going on in the town in the years and days leading up to the murder, and did this play a role in the murder of JBR? Boulder had a pedophilia problem, multiple sex rings, prominent citizens throwing sex parties with minors, child pornographers, pedophiles being protected at the church. DA office gave out ridiculous plea bargains to some, others no jail time at all. A few were never arrested. They were protected. Welcome to Boulder. Welcome to the Boulder syndrome. So, yeah, these guys have done a lot of work. So it'll be interesting to hear. And, you know, especially after we've heard about all of the weird sex parties and all of that in the Rex Heuermann case. You know, there's weird ass people out there, and there was a lot of weird ass people out there in the 90s as well. So it's really not that far-fetched now. And it's never too late for things to be uncovered. We've seen things be uncovered. Now you're on fire, messing with a minor. Hey, Nash. Hey, Space Fairy. Wanderlustin, good to see you. Imaginary Enterprise. 1993 was Jon Benet, I believe. Let me double check. Jon Benet, missing here. I believe it was 93. 96, sorry. 1996. Christmas 1996. At age 6. And then here's her dad now. And he's still speaking out on this DNA that they have not tested. Here's the official trailer. Let's watch.
On average, 8.
This is the official Netflix trailer. Yeah, sentencing is in about 15 minutes, y'all. 15 minutes. Hey, Jace, isn't it? Hey, Sal. Hey, Shell. She was beautiful. I know, Mark Klein. Damn, you thought beer pong was risque. People are sickos, man.
Oh, hello. I'm Jon Benet.
It was a
Look at that cute little girl.
Oh, hello.
Look at her. So cute without all that makeup and those stupid costumes.
I'm Jon Benet.
It was a case that people couldn't stop talking about. Some people don't think it's ever going to be solved.
Prior to Christmas Day of 1996, we were just a regular
Life
family.
in prison, Nash.
And of course, then that all changed.
Someone killed this 6-year-old child.
Do you mind taking us through the day?
It was just unbelievable.
Explain to me what's going on, okay? We have a kidnapping. There's a note left in our daughter's drawer.
It received national news attention right away.
There's the
Jon Benet
church.
was in child beauty pageants. When you dress your child up, you might innocently attract a predator.
Was there an intruder or was the family involved?
The press was going wild that Burke's the killer. We thought, this is crazy. He didn't write that note.
The amount was
Wasn't Burke.
$118,000, which is really bizarre.
The tabloids were crucial in pushing the narrative. They were untrue, unfounded, but that didn't matter. It was a good story.
People hated the Ramseys.
It's like, oh my God, how low could you go?
And bam.
I did not kill my daughter, Jon Benet.
The Boulder Police Department made a lot of mistakes early on in this case.
Was there a concern that some crucial evidence might have been lost?
That lack of experience created a lot of problems in the crime scene.
There is evidence of an intruder. I say this over and over and over again.
If this case is ever going to be solved, we might be looking at the best chance right now.
Sicko.
We've been ruling people out for the wrong reasons. Everybody should be back on the table. You have to go deeper.
It'll be interesting, huh? Her brother's grown. Her brother's way grown. But the reason why I say her brother didn't kill her, y'all, she was abused. He was told not to leave his room. Have you ever seen the garage? That's what's the most disturbing. Is this. And we're going to go into this more. I'm not going to show her, but where's the picture of that mean girl? Right here. Burke Ramsey didn't do this. He was 9 years old. He was 9 years old. We've got 10 minutes till sentencing, and Leilani Simon is facing life in prison without parole. This was used to torture Jon Benet Ramsey. And I'm going to preface this by saying this is absolutely disgusting, but this is a tool that someone uses for SA. I'm just going to leave it there. And I feel like they went, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but this was used around her neck. Yeah, I mean, they came back from the party. He went to bed. He was waiting for freaking. No, she had blunt force trauma to her head as well. But this was used on her neck. This is a garrote. It's a garrote. And it's used during SA. It's disgusting and disturbing. But it's not like, oh, mom just went nuts and hit, and Jon Benet hit her head in the bathroom and died. I mean, there was so much more going on with this little girl, clearly. No, that 9-year-old boy didn't do this. No. I mean, why would you go to a 9-year-old boy versus these powerful, wealthy white men? Who usually SAs a little girl? A 9-year-old boy or a fucking white man? I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't think it's the brother at all. I think that's ridiculous. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Miss Robin. This is a sadistic, dark murder of Jon Benet Ramsey. So we're going to go into this, and it's not pretty, guys. It's not going to be pretty, but we're going to go into that theory because it needs to be talked about. These powerful white men are doing shit to little kids all the time. And if we don't talk about it, who knows? It may never be exposed, but I think that it will be when these people die. I think that this will be a case that it won't be, we won't find out the truth until people die. And I think that's why Jon Ramsey's not worried about the DNA. Because maybe the Ramseys got involved in something when they moved to Boulder that they weren't prepared for and they got kind of sucked into it. I don't know. I don't think there's any way that Burke Ramsey tortured his sister with a garrote made out of his mom's broken paintbrush. There's no way you'll ever convince me that Burke did it. Boulder has a lot of money, guys. Well, Burke's just a little kid. Was just a little kid. I mean, can you imagine being raised by those two? Would you not be a little odd? Ramsey and Madeline McCann. Yeah, those are two. That's like the mystery too. The same kind type. I just don't think there's any way that Burke did that. He was just a little boy. He just wanted presents for Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Like, here's another question. Put a 1 in chat if you know who Fleet White is in the Ramsey case. Put a 1 in chat if you know who Fleet White is. I don't think so either, TC. You don't think Burke did it, but I do think he abused her? I don't. I think he was just her brother. I think if anything, her mom may have abused her when she peed her bed, like got mad at her. She had to be perfect little Jon Benet, not little Jon Benet who wets the bed. I have, Marissa. You have heard of Fleet White. Okay. You know who he is? I agree, Tara. I think it's so unfair what Burke has been through. I mean, he was already probably left out as being the brother of Jon Benet anyways. Okay, so a lot of you do know who Fleet White is. Okay, so Fleet White is their friend. They were at the White's home for the party the night they went home, and then she was found dead the next day. So they were with the Whites. And in interviews, Fleet White and John Ramsey stated that they went upstairs with Daphne White, who is Fleet's daughter, and Jon Benet, and they were playing beads at the party. Just the four of them playing beads. Then Fleet White was also, he opened the cellar door when they were looking for Jon Benet. He didn't turn the light on, shut the cellar door, and then John Ramsey opened the cellar door, turned the light on, and there was Jon Benet's body. He had opened the door, didn't turn the light on. So there's a lady named Nancy who came out. She claims she was assaulted by Fleet White Sr. So that would be Fleet White that the Ramseys knew, his dad. And she testified that he used a garrote on her in the same way that Jon Benet, the garrote was used on Jon Benet. She proved to the Zell brothers who she was, and with pictures that her godfather was Fleet White Sr., and she had photos to prove it. But Nancy was never taken seriously by the police. So we're going to hear about Nancy as well. I know. It was like a year ago, Jen. I looked. It was a year ago that John said, I'm looking forward to this new DNA testing. So is that why maybe he's not worried about DNA coming back to him, Mr. Ramsey? And then after the murders, when John moved to, they moved to Atlanta, and Fleet White moved with him. Trisha, the owner of Web Sleuths, thinks it was Burke. Wow, that surprises me. I don't think it was Burke at all. That's weird. I'm surprised she would say that. Hey, Michaela. Hey, Ganja. Good to see you. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to hear what they found, and they've backed up everything. So what they said, the Zell brothers said to me, was we, instead of starting on the inside out, we started on the outside in, and that's how they found Nancy. And they said, maybe we can connect another case to this one if we start with the outside and go in. And that was how they uncovered pedophilia at the church. And then they'll tell you. They'll tell you. Hey, Cherry Chapstick. Yeah, he moved with him. Yeah, he did date Natalie Holloway's mom. No, I didn't, Michaela. What did they do? The Palm Beach officers. I did not. But I have a new story that I wanted to show you guys. What happened in Palm Beach? They were in a crash? Oh, no. They were killed. Oh, my goodness. 2 Palm Beach County deputies killed, 1 badly injured after crash on Southern Boulevard. Oh, how awful. This happened 3 hours ago. They were on their department-issued motorcycles. Oh, good God. Look at their motorcycles. Pray for their families, y'all. That's heavy. Jon Benet, cause of death. I thought it was blunt force trauma, but. Oh, here it is. Autopsy revealed that Jon Benet was killed by strangulation and a skull fracture. The official cause of death was asphyxia by strangulation associated with craniocerebral trauma. So brain trauma and strangulation. There was no evidence of conventional rape, although sexual assault could not be ruled out. Sick. Yeah, we're waiting for Leilani Simon. Welcome in, guys. We got almost 400 of you here. You could hit the like button for me today. I'm sporting my Grady Judd shirt today. Thank you, Shell. I thought the letter was to mess with the investigation. Probably. I mean, it was written on their paper. Patsy's paper. Thank you, Nicole G. Scratch ticket fund. Boop, boop. Thank you, Nicole. Let me give this some boost.
Morning. I had a long morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. Would you please bring out Miss Simon?
I like this judge, too. All rise. Stand up. Stand up. I mean, who's going to sit in their house and write that letter, though? A 3-page letter? Here she comes. Bring in the evil biatch. Her mother should be sitting next to her as the co-defendant, in my opinion. Pisses me off. I say when kids are killed, hold everyone who failed them accountable, who was responsible for them. You ain't wearing no sweaters today.
All right. We are here today for the sentencing hearing of Leilani Simon. This is SPC R22-03364J6, the state of Georgia versus Leilani Marie Simon. Let the record reflect that counsel for both parties are present for the state. Our Assistant U.S. Attorney Tim Dean, Assistant District Attorney Jenny Parker, and Detective
I want to smack her mouth so bad.
For the defense, present for Ms. Simon are her attorneys, Martin Hilliard and Robert Purse. Ms. Simon is seated with her attorneys. And with that, we'll turn our attention to the matter at hand. Are there any merger issues? And I believe we have relatively easy merger issues.
Oh, her brother's there?
With the felony murder counts would be vacated by operation of law, and the others will be handled with the pronouncement of sentence. So, Mr. Dean, turning to the state first, is there any evidence in aggravation?
Vote in the poll, guys.
There are, I think, some merger issues with respect to some of the false statements.
Let's go back to that.
I emailed the court and the defense about this morning. My belief is that some of the false statements count should merge with others. That count 10 should merge factually with 9. That count 14 should merge factually with count 13. And that 17 should merge factually.
Oh, Billy Joe's there? I didn't see her.
Okay.
So
where is she?
That may not exactly be right, but out of an abundance of caution, I would request that the court merge those 3 counts with the ones that precede them.
Okay.
Where is she,
and once
y'all?
again, to make sure I have those correct, you're suggesting that count 10 merge into 9, and then what was the next?
That count 14 merge factually into count 13. And that count 17 merge factually into count 16.
Oh, that's her?
All right, thank you. Any others?
Oh, my God. I didn't even recognize her.
I concur with the court. Count 2 and 3 should be vacated as an operation of law. And I also concur with Mr. Dean. I think factually those counts would merge, and those would be the ones that I would move for merger on as well. So we don't have any objection proceeding in that manner. So.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. I see her.
Any evidence in aggravation of punishment, Mr. Dean?
Yes, Your Honor. The first item in aggravation that I would introduce is what I've marked as State's Exhibit 1. This is a certified copy of conviction from Burt County Superior Court in which the defendant was convicted of criminal trespass.
I didn't see Dolly either.
Burglary in the first degree.
Welcome in, Tiff.
So I would offer that at this time.
Okay.
I don't think it triggers any recidivist punishment, Judge, and it's an appropriate copy, but no objection, but I don't think it does anything to trigger 1710-7.
All right.
Her brother has a neon sweatshirt on. Therese says.
Thank you.
Dolly's in the back row with no hat.
Any other evidence you wish to put forward?
Your Honor, at this time I'm called to take abundance.
I think PJ's there too.
I do report on the issue pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon.
All right. You understand that one of the most important factors the court considers in fashioning a sentence is whether and to what degree the defendant has accepted.
I see her brother.
Right?
Yes.
He's right
I'd like
over
to
her
ask
head
you
right now.
Some questions kind of designed to get at that, okay? First, I want to ask you about the various sources of information you've had access to during the investigation and then after the defendant was arrested that represent kind of sources and statements that she made, things that she said about the case, okay? Okay. Let's start with interviews. You interviewed her a number of times, right?
Yes, I did.
And there were some other law enforcement interviews that you didn't participate in, but did watch.
Correct.
Waterhead.
You've talked to witnesses who have talked to her.
Yes.
For instance, Melanie Bowling, Billy Joe Howell, the defendant's mother.
Yes.
You have seen the news interview that she did during the investigation.
Yes, I have.
And have you also monitored her communications from the jail during the time that she spent there between her arrest and the trial?
I have.
Listened to many of her phone calls from the jail?
Yes.
Read emails that she sent from the jail?
Yes.
And read letters that she exchanged with a pen pal, right?
Yes.
You've also watched some video recorded, like video visits that they can do?
Yes.
Sort of like a FaceTime type thing?
Yes.
Okay. So you've seen her talk a lot?
I have.
You've heard her talk a lot?
Yes.
Those various statements have included some stories about that night, right? About what happened or what might have happened.
Yes, they have.
Let's talk about the abduction story. Tell us about the abduction story or stories.
Yeah, so that initially started on October 5th. That was the initial story that she came up with was Quinton was abducted by Bubba.
And was there a version of the abduction story at some point that involved not Bubba as the alleged kidnapper, but strangers? Unknown strangers?
Yes, on that first day after we had confirmation from the FBI office in Augusta that Bubba was most likely not going to be involved, she started mentioning, random vehicles that had followed her throughout the night or had stopped in front of her house, just trying to cast suspicion on those.
What about Michelle McCarto, Quinton and his siblings' babysitter. Did she ever feature in any version of the abduction story offered by the defendant?
Yes, there's a few times where she tried to say that possibly Michelle McCarta was involved.
So as to the abduction story, it's taken various forms. Bubba took him, maybe a stranger took him, maybe Michelle took him, right?
Correct.
There's also a story, or maybe multiple versions of variants on the same story, alleging that Danny was involved, or Danny did it, or something along those lines.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that story or stories?
Yeah. So the Danny possibly being involved started shortly after Daniel left. That was brought up in a text message to Savannah Solomon on October 24th, and during our interview on the 31st of October. It's also been mentioned a number of times in our jail calls, just various versions of that story.
It has included the claim that Danny was actually the one at the dumpsters at 1:20 or so in the morning on October 5th, right?
Yeah, that was the story from October 31st. Is it wasn't her at the dumpster, it was actually Daniel.
There's also been a different version from her in which she suggests that, actually, no, he threw him in some other trash receptacle on his way to work after the sun had come up, right?
Yes.
And so as to Danny, two different versions of the Danny did it story, right?
Yes, it is.
At some point, did she try out something that I'll call the bathtub theory on you?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So in her final interview on November 21st, she did mention that possibly something happened to Quinton in the bathtub. That one was shortly, discarded as an untrue, theory, based on the fact that Paul got home after the bathtub. All sorts of other parties can confirm Quinton was still alive after he took a bath.
All right, so I'd like to ask you a couple questions about all these different stories, things she said, things she didn't say. First of all, as we talked about, some of these stories involve her kind of casually accusing other people or implicating other people, right?
They do, yes.
Did you ever hear from her any reluctance, apprehension, or hesitance about throwing these other innocent people's names out there as potentially being responsible?
No.
Now, remember in the news interview, and I think in the October 12th interview with Special Agent Snyder and Special Agent Solomon, she said some things about being willing to take responsibility if it came to light that she was the one who had done this, right?
She said that, yes.
In all of these statements of hers that you've listened to, the interviews, things witnesses have told you she said, jail communications and so forth, at any point, has she ever actually accepted responsibility for what she's now been convicted of?
No, she hasn't.
Now, she sometime relatively recently wrote a letter to a local news station, right?
Yes, she did.
Do you see in front of you a document marked as States Exhibit 2?
Yes, I do.
Is that a copy of that letter?
It is.
Where did that letter come from?
It is from the WTOC website, and it's signed by Leilani Simon at the bottom. And
WTOC website is they're a respected news organization, and they're posting it saying, this is a letter she sent to us.
Yes.
Right? Your Honor, I would offer this into evidence as States Exhibit 2.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
States Exhibit 2 is admitted.
What's the date of this letter?
September 2nd, 2024.
So a little more than a month before trial, maybe 5 weeks before trial?
Yes.
Now that this has been admitted into evidence, could you just read it for us?
Sure. WTOC, there is no factual evidence against me, none. As in no concrete, without a doubt evidence. All the state has is speculation based on circumstantial evidence. Nothing, however, based in fact with undeniable proof/evidence. This is what the state doesn't have. No DNA evidence, no forensic evidence, no eyewitnesses, no murder weapon, no camera/video evidence, no time of death to prove I was at home during tragedy, no cause of death, no proof of any previous abuse to Quinton or other children. I understand if you're skeptical of what I just wrote, but I assure it's the truth, it's fact. I implore you to do your own investigation into my claims to confirm. The public deserves to know some of the facts of this case and not only speculation based in circumstantial evidence. I firmly believe that if the investigators weren't mainly focused on me from day one of the investigation, that they may have found the evidence they lack and therefore the actual murderer. They, in quotations, the state, are attempting to railroad me instead of admitting they have accused the wrong person for for the past almost 2 years. Leilani Simon.
Thank you. Now, is it fair to say that in that letter she's kind of holding herself out as like a detached commentator upon the state of the evidence and not like, the person who was there and threw him in the dumpster and knows exactly what happened?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Now, I'd like to ask you some questions about her behavior during the investigation. And, a lot of her behavior in the investigation was charged in the indictment in the form of false statements. I want to ask you about a couple of things that did not come into evidence at trial. Okay. The first is something that occurred on October 5th, right? That's day one.
Yes.
That is when the defendant, Paul Simon, and Daniel Youngkin were at the Chatham County Police Department for a fairly long period of time for a series of interviews, right?
Yes.
Was there, and that was at a time very early on where she's representing to the police that Quinton has been abducted and she doesn't know whether he's safe or not, dead or alive, right?
Yes.
Was there a point where she was captured on camera asking Paul whether he had any weed to smoke when they left there?
Oh,
yes,
my God.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So after everyone's individual interviews were concluded, my team was trying to arrange transport to get them back home. We had all three of them in the interview room together. During that time, Leilani asked Paul if he has marijuana at the house.
Now, moving forward from that, another
Can't with her.
Incident that wasn't introduced into evidence at trial, the Stingrays incident. Okay. That was on October 18th, right?
Yes, it was.
And that is the day that the Chatham County Police Department announced that they believed Quinton to be dead, to be located in the landfill, right?
Yes, it was.
Can you tell us about the Stingrays incident? First of all, let me ask you this. Have you reviewed video footage from Stingrays depicting the defendant and her activities there?
Oh, yeah, her and her mom out partying.
And did you interview or talk to her waiter that day, a young man by the name of Zach?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Just kind of give us the broad contours of what happened at Stingrays based on that review.
Yeah, so like you said, November 18th is when our social media liaison announced to the public that we were looking for Quinton in the landfill.
November 18th?
October 18th. Okay. Yeah, excuse me. And on that day, my team received notice that Leilani and her family had gone out to Stingrays, which is a bar restaurant on Tybee, and that they were out there partying.
Classy.
I interviewed Zach Anderson, who was their waiter at the time, and he told us about her behavior out there, how she was flirtatious. Everyone was drinking, cheersing, and seeming to have a very good time.
And he said that she consumed numerous alcoholic beverages, right?
Yes.
That she became noticeably, I guess if not drunk, at least tipsy or something along those lines.
Yes.
And that she was behaving in a flirtatious manner towards him.
Yes.
In her November 21 interview,
and grandmother
final interview
Robat.
Her arrest, you brought up the Stingrays incident, right?
Yes, I did.
And that was in the context of explaining to her that from your perspective, She had not behaved in a way that comported with what she was saying happened, that she was a victim of an abduction, right?
Yes.
And did she tell you a lie in that interview about what had happened at Stingrays?
Yes, she did.
And what was that?
That she was not consuming alcohol that night.
Okay. Is it fair to say that we did not charge all of the lies that she told you as false statements in this indictment?
We did not.
I'd like to ask you about one more aspect of the defendant's behavior during the investigation, okay? At some point during the investigation, she entered some kind of a substance abuse rehabilitation program, right?
Yes.
And this was an inpatient deal?
It was.
Where you lived there?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sure she has no remorse, Robin.
And was she kicked out at some point?
That's what we were told, yes.
And when was she kicked out?
November 21st.
That's the day of the final interview and her arrest?
Yes, it is.
Why was she kicked out of rehab?
We were told it was fraternization with the other people in rehab.
Specifically male
Yes.
patients at the facility?
Yes.
Now, I'd like to ask you a little bit about her behavior during her pretrial incarceration, like after she's arrested but before trial, okay?
Okay.
She was housed the entire time at the Chatham County Detention Center, correct?
Yes.
While there, is it fair to say she's had interactions with a number of men who are not incarcerated at that facility?
Yes, she has.
Both over the phone and electronically otherwise?
Yes.
Messages and so forth?
Yes.
Okay. Has she maintained a long-running pen-pal relationship with a child molester incarcerated in the state of Wisconsin?
Yes, she has.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm not sure the exact start date. It was well over a year ago when they began communicating, and they regularly send letters to each other. They refer to each other as husband and wife.
And more recently, has she begun having like video visits, remote video visits with a convicted felon from the Boston area, a man?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
That's one of the more recent ones. He's an individual that reached out to her saying that he wanted to be friends with her and gives her money on her books, and they have started video visitation.
And separate and apart from her interactions with those two men, has she also been accepting money put onto her books from other men around the country or even around the world, perhaps?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
There's been a few throughout the last 2 years. The most recent one, the one that she began video chatting, that's one that's saying he's going to regularly put money on her books.
So based on on your review of the letters, the video visits, maybe phone calls as well, does she seem to be enjoying and encouraging the male attention that she's received since being arrested?
Yes, she does.
I'd like to ask you a couple of questions now about her behavior during trial.
She's a pig.
We've touched on her behavior during the investigation and her behavior during pretrial incarceration. But let's talk about the trial, okay?
Okay.
Do you remember an incident during the trial where I brought up the fact that to my eye she could be seen visibly mouthing during Talia McCarty's testimony?
Oh, she was mouthing in testimony?
Something along the lines of, that's a fucking lie, or she's a fucking liar, or something like that.
Yes.
Oh, Leilani, you stupid bitch.
Have you gone back and reviewed some of the broadcasted footage of this trial?
Show
Yes,
it.
I have.
Show it.
Have you located that incident in the footage available online?
Yes.
And has it been clipped into like a 1.5 minute clip and placed on a disc?
Yes, it has.
Is that what's
Show it.
contained on the disc in front of you, marked States Exhibit 3?
Yes, it is.
And can you tell us, well, at this time, Your Honor, I'd offer that into evidence as State's Exhibit 3.
I don't care, Judge. No objection.
Okay. Exhibit 3 is admitted.
Now, Your Honor, I had intended to publish that, but there are people and equipment over here where I would set up my computer, so I'm not going to do that. But it will be in evidence for the court to review.
Oh, damn. Well, play it.
Without the ability to readily play it here, can I just ask you to describe what is depicted in that clip?
Sure. You can hear Talia in the background talking about Leilani's referencing Bubba and Quinton and how Quinton looks like Bubba. And then during that, it shows Leilani's face during the trial, and she's saying, "That's a fucking lie." And
did she appear to you to be talking to her lawyer when she said that?
No.
Now, did you keep an eye on the defendant throughout the trial to one degree or another?
Yes.
And did you have the opportunity to observe when, if at all, she displayed any visible emotion versus when she did not?
Yes.
What is your sense of the point in the trial where she displayed the most clear, visible emotion? I mean, aside from what we've just talked about, but I guess emotion of sadness or being upset.
I would say the verdict would be where she was more visually upset.
What about when Quinton's dismembered foot or pieces of his skull were up on the screen in front of her and she was looking right at him?
She didn't appear to be upset.
Now, I'd like to ask you a couple questions about about the money associated with the landfill search, okay?
Okay.
It's not really what this case is all about, but I do want to just put a couple things on the record about this. Have you reviewed some emails and talked to some people to get a sense for how much money the landfill search
I can't with Dolly.
cost the Chatham County Police Department and the FBI, and therefore, the taxpayers?
Yes.
That includes, those expenses include things like travel and lodging for some of the FBI agents who came in from out of town to participate, right?
Yes.
Equipment, boots, Tyvek suits, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, it does.
Heavy equipment rentals.
Yes.
Excavators and things like that.
Yes.
And is it fair to say that also overtime pay, right? There's a lot of overtime pay for people.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that the cost of the landfill search appears to far exceed, I'll say, $500,000?
Yes, it does.
Now, I'd like to ask you a couple questions about the impact of Quinton's murder on the community. Okay. As the lead detective for the Chatham County Police Department, have you had the opportunity to get a sense for the community impact of this case?
I would say so, yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about that?
I know my office, as well as the district attorney's office, has received phone calls from people thanking them and us for, finding justice and finding his body. I've had several people reach out to me to say how much it means that we were able to find him, really more than anything.
People in the community took an interest in this case, right?
Yes, they did.
And a lot of people seem to have come to care about Quinton that never even met him. Is that fair to say?
Yes, it is.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about the effect, the impact on some of the police officers involved in this case, okay?
Okay.
And we don't need to go into this in great detail, but is it accurate to say that a number of police officers sought out counseling services after either having been involved in the initial response to the house or having been involved in the landfill search, or both?
Yes, that's accurate.
And do you know some of those people?
Yes, I do.
one of the people in the community who was affected by this this case was Donner Johnson, right?
Yes.
And can you remind us who Donner is and what his role in the investigation and in the trial was?
Yeah, he was our point of contact for the landfill off of Little Neck. He was there with us every step of the way until we found Quinton.
Has this whole thing had an effect on Donner?
Him and his coworkers, yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Donner and I have had several conversations about what it's like for them to still work out there, knowing that part of Quinton's remains are still in the landfill. He and his team have had a tough time still working there.
Now, have they, has he or have they done anything to memorialize Quinton's memory out at the landfill?
Yes, they have.
Can you tell us about what that is?
In one of the areas that we had set up for the landfill search, Donner and everyone at Waste Management set up a large memorial for Quinton. It has a headstone, flowers, and a photograph of him.
And who paid for that?
The landfill.
Do you see in front of you, I think it's 3 images that are marked as State's Exhibit 4?
Yes.
Are those pictures showing the memorial that you've just talked about?
Yes, it does.
Could you hold those up and for the judge and just kind of walk through what we're looking at in these pictures?
So this is the plaque right here. It's a marble stone plaque, and they've done some landscaping around it. This is a better view of the plaque. It has a photograph of Quinton, and then they have a nice flower bed around it.
And then the last picture is what, just kind of a closer view?
Yes.
One moment, please. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Hilliard, Mr. Purse.
Detective Lemons, have you had multiple theories in this case when you first got it of what happened?
Yes.
Okay, were all of those theories true?
No.
Okay. So when you discarded the theories that weren't, did that make you a liar?
No, they were based off of evidence that we found.
Okay. So when you're throwing out a theory, doesn't necessarily make you a liar if that theory doesn't pan out, does it?
It does. No.
It does or it does not?
Restate your question, please.
If you're throwing out a theory and the theory doesn't pan out, it doesn't mean you were a liar when you threw out a theory, does it?
No.
Okay. Now, Mr. Dean asked you a bunch of questions. Ms. Simon's been convicted of this charge, but let's go ahead and, since Mr. Dean asked the question, do you exactly know the manner or method in which Quinton Simon died?
No.
Do you know whether or not there was any DNA evidence that showed how he died or who the perpetrator was?
No.
Okay. So all of these statements that Mr. Dean had you run through are factually correct, are they not?
They are.
Okay. So again, it's not a misstatement, was it?
No.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the other evidence, the evidence that Mr. Dean just elicited too. I understand we're here, the verdict's been rendered, but does asking to smoke weed tell you how Quinton Simon died?
No.
Okay. Does getting drunk at Stingrays tell you how Quinton Simon died?
No.
Okay. Does having an electronic relationship with a child molester from Wisconsin tell you how Quinton Simon died?
No.
Okay. Does fraternizing with someone in drug treatment tell you how Quinton Simon died?
No.
Okay. Does a criminal trespass conviction tell you how Quinton Simon died?
No.
Okay. So, disagreeing with what Talia McCarty said, saying she's a liar, does that tell you how Quinton Simon died?
No.
So I'm just curious, how do any of these things add to aggravation?
I think it shows her state of mind during it all and her lack of responsibility and disdain for her child.
And that's your opinion, correct?
It is.
And that's the opinion that has just been driving this case since October 5th of 2022, isn't it?
No.
That's all the questions I have, Judge.
Anything further?
Not for this witness, Your Honor.
All right. Detective, you may step down. Mr. Dean, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, I understand that Talia McCarter would like to address the court, so we would call her now.
The evidence you shall give the court on the issue pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. This is not like the trial in the sense that I don't have a bunch of questions prepared for you at this point, okay?
Yes, sir.
This is your opportunity to tell the judge what Quinton meant to you and how this has all impacted you, and I suppose your family more generally. So have you thought about what you would like to say to the judge about Quinton?
Quinton was like a little brother to me. Quinton meant a lot. Just seeing him smile every day, waking up next to him, he would stay at the house a lot. Missing him every day, not waking up to see Quinton, not being able to go get Quinton no more. It's a lot. My family loved him a lot. I miss him walking around the house with cheese in his hand saying bubbles. I miss him just lighting up the room. I miss looking at his little bow legs just run across the kitchen. Just hope he gets justice.
Let me ask you this, and this is not something that we've talked about before, but it does occur to me to ask you the question. If Leilani had just come to you and your family and said, look, I can't handle all three of these children, will you take this one? What do you think your mom would have said to that?
My mom would have took Quinton in a heartbeat. There would have been no hesitation. Quinton, it was like he was blood to us. It was a connection with Quinton. It was a connection with all the kids. But Quinton, my mom would have never said no or nothing. She would have just took him in a heartbeat if she could have.
One moment, please, okay? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, sir.
Thank you very much.
You may step down. Well, just a moment. Ms. Talia?
I don't have any questions for this.
Okay. All right, Mr. Dean, you may call your next witness.
State rest, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, turning to the defense, Mr. Hilliard, Mr. Purse.
I'd like to call Paul Simon, Judge.
Okay, is Mr. Simon present?
Here we go. Here comes her brother. Hopefully he doesn't use the word retard this time when he talks. Fuck's sake.
The evidence you shall give the court on the issue pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
So help me God.
Have a seat, please.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. Simon.
Hello, how are you doing today?
Mr. Simon, you understand why we're here, correct? Yeah. And I've asked you to come forward and speak in mitigation about your sister Leilani. Okay. We're not here to argue with the verdict. The verdict's been rendered, but we are here to try and basically tell the court about Leilani. And so you've asked to speak. And is there anything you'd like to tell the court before the court imposes sentence, Paul?
So growing up, Leilani is my closest sibling. Growing up, she was always there for me whenever I needed her. Whenever I needed advice about anything, didn't matter what it was, she would always give it to me to the best of her ability. So, I mean, I love her. She's my sister. And, I love Quinton. That's my nephew. I love him just like he was my own blood. But At the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and live in the past when all I have is days ahead of me. And I'm going to keep moving forward.
Okay. And with Leilani, whenever you lived in the house when this was going on, correct? How was she with the children at that point in time?
She was always pretty fair to them. I never saw her hit them. She would yell at them. But, I mean, everybody gets frustrated, so.
Right.
I never really saw her hit them. You know, when Quinton and Zane and Sky, when they were all outside, she was out there watching them, making sure that none of them got too close to the pool. At a certain point, Zane would finally put his feet into the pool without throwing a tantrum, you know. So I never saw no abuse, never saw no bruises, besides from, like, you know, maybe Quinton running through the house and falling. I mean, can't help that. He was bow-legged. I mean, he could barely walk as it was.
You were close to Quinton, weren't you?
I was. He would come up to me and put his arms over my legs, and I'd just sit there and bounce him. 20, 30 minutes later, it's still going. You know, he'd wear me out. He'd beat me up.
Well, that being said, do you have an eye towards what you think the court should do with Leilani? I mean, the court's limited to either life with or without parole. And what are you here asking the court to do with Leilani's sentence?
In my opinion, she needs to spend time in prison, but at the same time, she's still extremely young. And regardless of how it looks, at the end of the day, she's still my sister. And I feel like even though she was convicted of what she was convicted of, she still deserves a chance, even if it's later in her life, to have an opportunity to live her life still.
And that's what you're asking for, correct? It's life with parole, correct?
Yes, sir.
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. I just wanted to be clear, okay?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else you wanted to tell the court about your sister?
Just I love you, sister. I hope you make it through it.
And Mr. Dean might have some questions for you, Paul, okay?
I hope you make it through it. Good luck, baby. Oh, I don't feel the least bit sorry for her. Not the least bit. Let's get some hearts in chat for little Quinton.
Hill.
Fuck his mom's crocodile tears. Let's get some hearts in chat for Quinton.
The evidence you shall give the court on the issue pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, ma'am.
State your name, please, ma'am.
My name is Kimberly Hill.
Okay, and Ms. Hill, how do you know Ms. Leilani Simon?
Me and Leilani met when we were young, 15, 16. I was 15, she was 16.
Ms. Hill, I can tell you're a soft. I'm going to ask you to scoot up a little bit to the mic.
This is her friend.
That is much better.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to speak up. They're recording everything we say and do.
I completely understand.
All right. So
we met when I was 15 and she was 16. We met through a mutual friend. We were both very young. It was before kids. And she was so kind. I was very clueless and dumb at 15. I came from a very sheltered home. And she could have taken advantage of me very easily. But she didn't. Instead, she showed me everything. I mean, she showed me all around Savannah. She showed me how to act and how to talk in a setting that wasn't, it was very awkward as a kid. She really helped me through all of that. And she was very kind to me. Like I said, she had the opportunity to take advantage of me, and she didn't. We were friends for a couple of years, and, you know, I was away for about 2 years, a year and a half or so we didn't really get to talk that much. And by the time I reconnected, she had had her first baby, and we would hang out quite often. She was always concerned about him. Always, every time I saw her, whether it was the first child or after the second child, it was always, I'm going to be better, I'm going to do better, I'm doing better, I'm working towards something better. She always made an effort, and you could tell that she cared, even if she made the wrong decisions.
Okay. And you understand why we're here today, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what's your most recent interaction with Ms. Simon?
About 6 months to a year prior to everything that had happened, I did distance myself just because I could tell we were going in different directions in life.
You can be honest. What did you mean by that?
She was hanging around the wrong crowd from what I presumed, and I was going to college, I was getting my degree, I was working in a very professional setting, and I just didn't have time to go all the way out. It was very far where I was living. I was in Savannah. I can't remember where it was, but it was about an hour and a half near Waynesboro. It was pretty far. So it was just very difficult to see her, and I also didn't want to get caught up in anything just in case. I wasn't aware of anything, but I didn't want to be aware of anything if there was.
And that was probably, if not correct, 2021, early 2022?
Like late 2020, early 2021 is probably around the last time that we had hung out.
All right. Have you reconnected with her since then, since this all transpired, or no?
No, sir.
So basically your experience was as teenagers for the most part?
From 15 to 2021.
Okay. So for about 5 years?
Yes, sir.
Just trying to nail it down?
Of course.
Right. And you understand what we're here for, but that's the person you remember, is that
yes, sir.
Kind, gentle soul.
Even though everything happened, it wouldn't be right for me to not come here and speak on what I experienced.
And that's all the questions I have. Is there anything further you'd like to add?
I hope you're doing okay.
And Mr. D might have some questions for you.
Okay.
Thank you. Just give me 1 second.
No questions, Ron.
All right, Ms. Hill, you may step down.
Thank you.
Thomas Howell's next, Judge.
Mr. Howell?
The evidence you shall give the court on the
BJ's
issue pending
husband?
shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Good Lord, have mercy on my soul. Now we get to hear the grandparents say how much they loved Quinton.
State your name, please, sir.
Thomas Howell.
Okay. Mr. Howell, how are you related to Miss Simon?
I am Leilani's stepfather.
Okay. And how long have you been her stepfather?
Well, about going on 12 years.
So not like 2 years ago.
No,
or 3
sir.
years ago. So it's been a while.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you helped raise her, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you're married to Billy Joe, just
Yes,
to be
sir.
clear, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Danny and Leilani and Quinton and Zane and Sky were all living with y'all in October of 2022, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at that point in time, either you and Billy Joe were working or you were at home, right?
Yes, sir.
And just to be clear, how long would y'all be gone when you were out working?
Well, at that time I was working in Anderson, South Carolina. And so some weekends I'd have to work weekends, so I just stayed there the whole week. The other weekends, when I did only work, we work usually our standard hours is 4/10s. So I'd come home on the weekends and then go back Monday morning.
So it's normally like 4 on, 3 off.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's what I was trying to get to. So you'd be gone for 4 days and back for 3 days.
Yes, sir. Monday through Thursday. I'd come back Thursday night.
Right. So, and you understand we're here for sentencing today, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you also understand the sentencing is limited. I mean, it's either going to be life with parole or life without parole, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I'm asking you to tell the court what you'd like to tell the court about Leilani in fashioning that sentence.
Well, Leilani was very smart. In school, she could pretty much take a test and not study for it and pass it. I mean, that's how smart she was. And like I say, when you're not on drugs, you're a total different person. And Leilani just got into drugs, and it just, I guess maybe you could say, made her somebody different. And pretty much all I'm asking is that she have a chance one day to come out in the world and I understand, but nobody knows what happened to that youngin'. Nothing's been proven what happened to him. And I just would ask her one day she'd be able to walk amongst us. I mean, I probably won't be here. I mean, I'm up in age, but that you'd at least be given one more chance in life instead of just putting her away and throwing away the key.
Anything further you want to add, Mr. Howell?
No, sir.
Mr. Dean, may I ask some questions for you?
All right.
Okay.
Sir, I have no questions for you.
All right.
Thank you.
Next is Jackie Madden, Judge.
Jackie Madden.
Why are people such idiots?
I can't. Gary.
The evidence you shall give the court on the issue pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
And Ms. Madden, once you have a seat, would you spell your name for the court reporter, please?
That's Jackie, Jackie, Madden, Madden.
All right. Mr. Hilliard.
Thank you, Ms. Madden. How do you know Ms. Simon, Ms. Madden?
Biologically, I'm her aunt, but I raised her about half of her life. I love her like she's my own daughter.
And what years did you raise her?
From 2002, gosh, till she was about 9, and then she went to live with her mom, and then again when she was 11.
Until about when?
That was a little better than a year, and then she went back to stay with her mom.
And during that time frame, tell me what you remember about her.
Oh gosh. I've written it all out. I don't know if it's appropriate to read it now or later.
That's completely up to you. Whatever you got to say it now.
This is the easiest. Obviously, I have a different relationship with Leilani. I know a different Leilani than what is depicted, than what is splattered all over everywhere. My husband and I raised Leilani for about half of her life. Her younger brother was with us the majority of his life. We are blessed to have her in our lives. Because she was in our lives full time, we were able to see a Leilani that has not been depicted over the last 2 years. Leilani was happy, full of life, still is. Unfortunately, she's not able to show it right now. She has the biggest, beautiful smile. She's beautiful inside and out. We watched her protect her younger brother. Gosh, she protected Paul like there's no tomorrow. She would protect him against others, whatever that took. She helped him with school. She was happy to help interpret him when needed. He had speech difficulties. And sometimes was difficult to understand, but being just a little better than a year apart, she could sometimes understand, and she had better language skills than he did. She did very well in school. She attended a Montessori school for her younger elementary school years, which requires independent learning, responsibility for a student's coursework. It requires the ability to make decisions about how one completes their weekly assigned work. Her progress was similar to that of her classmates. Her teachers rarely had concerns with her academic abilities. As a teenager in middle school, she experienced bullying. Although this was concerning, she still excelled. She was proud to be successful in school and took ownership of her responsibilities as a student. Does all of this mean that she was a perfect student? Absolutely not. Does it mean that she didn't make mistakes as a young adult, as a teenager, as a child? No, it does not. We all do. We've all gone through that. We know what it's like to be a child. We know what it's like to make mistakes. We do it as adults all the way up until the time we pass away.
She was independent. She did her chores without being directed to. She was responsible. She eagerly fixed dinner if her mom worked late, and I did experience that, so it's not hearsay. She could follow directions, both written and oral, if needed to prepare a meal. She was a good cook, and she loved it. I've watched her and my sister come together and have the best time doing so. They'd laugh, be silly, and have fun. The end product was a great meal. It was never a chore or work for her. She was always eager and sometimes sheepish or reserved to learn new things. She loved to help others. My mom, her grandmother, always needed help around the house. She would go help her often several days a week. There was a 40 to 45 minute drive one way, but that didn't matter to her. Sometimes my mom gave her gas money, but not always. Leilani would go regardless. She loves her Mima. The grandsons, however, they're just too busy. They had their own lives. They rarely went over there, so this helped increase my mother's and Leilani's bond, as Leilani had the most time with my parents. Now we get to Leilani as a mom, and this is what I saw. I didn't see her every day. It was on occasion, but this is what I saw every time I saw her. Leilani loved and displayed love for all three of her children equally. I never saw her treat any of them differently. I never saw her discipline them by means other than verbal redirection. The children, were never hit, grabbed, shoved, hollered at, talked down to or about, called names. They were never disciplined by any derogatory means. The children were clean within reason. They're boys. Boys are dirty. They do it quickly. Boys climb. They fall down, and sometimes they fall up. They play hard and sometimes rough. All these things make for dirty boys who often have boo-boos, owies, and bruises. I've raised 3 of them, so I'm very well versed in that. They weren't filthy in a manner upon which they appeared uncared for or abused. The boys were healthy in appearance. I never saw them malnourished or starving. Quinton, though, with his beautiful soul, beautiful smile, and lovable legs, loved food. He always tried anything new without hesitation and liked most of it. He was a happy child, and he loved to eat, and it was never because he was unfed. That boy just loved to eat. I speak a lot of the boys because I had the most time with them. We only had 5 months with their sister due to this tragedy. The little I saw of her with her mom, she was completely in love with her. She was so proud to be her mom. She was proud of and loved all 3 of her children equally. She never treated any of them differently, even when they had extra challenges. The oldest definitely had extra challenges and could be a little difficult to take care of sometimes. Of course, she had experience with that too because so does Paul. He was diagnosed with autism when he was a young child. So we had lots of challenges there. There's a lot of conversation in and out of the courts displaying Leilani as a monster who mistreated and neglected her children, especially Quinton. I never saw neglect, but she would pass off some of their care on to others from time to time. The children never resisted going to or with their mom. They loved her and loved being with her. Regardless of what the media and testimony says, I have seen the children go into hysterics upon drop-off at the babysitter's house. This happened the day after Sky was born. We were instructed to take the kids over there. When we did, immediately I pulled up in the driveway and both children went to crying. No, 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 they said. No, and cried the entire time as I dropped them off. It broke my heart. Literally broke my heart that I had to leave them there knowing that this was not the place they wanted to be. And we don't have a long-term relationship with these children. They see them every day. We don't. We see them
see something,
3,
say
4
something
times a year, and that's it. But they didn't want to stay there. They wanted to go back home with us. The last time I saw Quinton,
There's some tissues if you need them, Miss Madden.
The last time was as Miss Carter's daughter. I don't remember which one it was when I dropped them off. She was taking Quinton into the house. He was the last one to go in, and he was just looking at me crying with his hands out, wanting not to go, to come back with us. That is the biggest heartbreak I will live with the rest of my life. This is important because it helps to show that all is not as has been depicted. All of this may seem that I'm biased or expressing or portraying Leilani as a completely different person than she is perceived to be. I'm not biased. I will tell you when you're doing wrong. Ask my sister. We have fought battle after battle after battle over the years over Leilani and Paul. You see, I did not get to see a Leilani who used drugs. I've heard she did, but I never saw any evidence of it. My experiences of time with Leilani only showed the Leilani I knew from the time she was a baby, as a toddler, as a child, as a preteen, as a teen, as my daughter, and as a mom. None of which was abnormal. It was all the normal things you would have growing up in life. I've already described these experiences, and they did not ever show a Leilani who was unworthy or a drug user. When Leilani moved in with her mom, my love for her never changed. I still saw her as my daughter. Sadly, for me, I chose to simply be an aunt. I chose to let my sister and her mom, chose to let my sister be her mom, not by blood, but by love, care, support, bond, and everything a mom is supposed to be. I knew I had to do this, otherwise Leilani would not get to truly form that bond that she and my sister needed, wanted, and were blessed to form. This was the kind of bond, a beautiful bond, that I saw with Leilani and her own children. I do wish, though, that I had maintained a better bond with her that showed her how much I loved her, because I do. Fast forward to October 5th, 2022. This date and the events and news to follow completely cripples my heart. I searched and searched for a way to describe my feelings about the loss of our precious, loving, beautiful Quinton. After a while, I finally figured it out. I was crippled, completely crippled. Crippled with fear of what was to come, anxiety, uncertainty, lack of understanding and comprehension of how such a thing could happen in our family. After all, as they say, this is what you see in the movies. Hurt, sorrow, dismay, anger. I was and am angry at the fact that drugs caused the tragedy to happen in our family. Drugs took Quinton and Leilani from us. Quinton will forever be in my heart, my thoughts, and loved by me, but his life, his body, his love will never be seen or fulfilled due to the influence of drugs. As for Leilani, her life will never be the same. Angry that even though Leilani and Danny were both present in the room with Quinton and the other two children, only Leilani was charged and convicted with the murder of our precious little Quinton. Angry that there's no evidence provided by the prosecution or otherwise presented during the trial that 100% proves that she was the one who murdered and disposed of Quinton's body. Angry that they both, Leilani and Danny, provided a setting that was dangerous for the children. They both used drugs. They both were under the influence on October 4th and 5th. both parents, whom had altered abilities to provide proper care for these 3 children. Drugs led to 2 parents with altered abilities to function with clear and responsible behavior, rational decision making, that caused the death and loss of our Quinton. Angry that drugs took away Quinton, his siblings, and Leilani from our lives, from our family. Therefore, the only way to simplify the way my head and heart could process this into a single definition was, it's crippled. This will never go away. Now, all of this said, do I think there should be consequences for Leilani? Absolutely yes. I do feel that she needs counseling. I do feel that she needs to complete a long-term multi-step drug rehab program. I do feel that she needs to complete multiple parenting classes. I've seen the difference that counseling and parenting classes have made for my sister. I know this isn't about my sister, but my sister affects Leilani. My sister, is definitely a better person, a better judge of character, and decision maker. I struggle to say jail time for Leilani because my heart struggles.
Enough.
My heart struggles to accept this as reality for my child, my daughter, my niece, my nephew. My love is never ending for her and her children, including Quinton. The loss of a child is the worst hurt anyone can ever feel. My own daughter, born August 2nd, 1989, at 3 months premature, weighing 1 pound 14 ounces, died on December 25th, 1989. She was born with chronic lung disease, which gave us limited time with her. I've never in my life felt such a loss, such hurt. I bring that up because my heart hurts for Leilani, as she will surpass the feelings I endured as a result in the manner which she lost her son. This will be a permanent imprisonment for her. It'll never go away. It'll eat at her the rest of her life. Whether she is responsible for this or Danny is responsible for this, it doesn't matter. She has lost her son. She has lost her 3 children. No matter if the other 2 are alive or not, she has lost them. And she will never be able to get over that ever. This will torture her for the rest of her life. As a Christian, I have to forgive her, and I wholeheartedly do. It is not because I'm a Christian, it's because I do. Does that mean I can forget? Absolutely not. Does it mean it won't hurt? No. Does that mean it changes the situation and the blame? Absolutely not. I do blame her and Danny. Only the 2 of them know what happened that night. The horror that resulted lies on both of them. One is just as guilty as the other, and both should suffer the consequences. The Leilani that I described in here,
in the name of
the Leilani
Jesus,
that
Father
I know,
God, Lord,
is not the Leilani that would take the life of her son, that would do this horrible thing.
Well, she did. Face it. Face it.
Miss Madden, just to perfect the record, you kept saying your sister. I want to be clear. You're talking about Miss Howe, correct?
I am, yes.
Right. And you understand the judge is bound by only 2 sentences, okay? It can only be life without parole or life with parole. And to be clear on that as well, you're asking the court to impose a life with parole sentence, correct?
Parole would be great, but it would also be good if these other things that I mentioned, the counseling, I know it's not required, I know, but I'm going to say it anyway. It would be great if these things could happen, because that will help her. It will help to make her a better person. It will help to take this out of her life. I know prison is coming. That doesn't mean that there's not access
Leilani's
to these things.
scummy.
And without these things, it's the likelihood of it changing is limited.
That's all the questions I have. Ms. Madden and Mr. Dean might have some questions for you, okay?
I wouldn't let you sleep in my room if you were growing on my ass.
No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may sit down, Ms. Madden.
Next, we have Billy Joe Howell, Your Honor.
Oh, here comes Billy Joe. Here she comes.
What you are witnessing is real. The participants are not actors.
The information you shall give the court on the issue pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
If you would, ma'am, state your name and spell it for the court reporter.
Billy Joe Howell. It's Billy, Billie, Joe, J-O, Howell, Howell.
And you are Ms. Simon's mother, correct?
Yes.
And you understand what we're here for today, correct?
Yes, sir, I do.
And I've asked you to come forward and, if you wanted to make a statement on Leilani's behalf. Did I not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you understand the court is the only sentence in the state of Georgia on a murder conviction is either life with or life without parole. You understand that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but you still having a chance to address the court and say what's on your mind. Would you like to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you can either speak naturally, or I can ask you questions, or you can read from a prepared statement if you'd like to, Ms. Howell. Which do you prefer? Not trying to put you on the spot, but you were unsure before.
I am still unsure.
Okay.
I know drugs has taken and had a huge impact on our entire lives. Even as Leilani's childhood, I failed her as a mom. I allowed addiction to take over my life at a young age. And you and your brother were just babies. And you lived with my sister. And I made sure you were okay. And through those times, it was still really hard on you because you wanted your mom. Just like I know they're going to want their mom. When you come to live with me, I'd already changed my life. And I'd been working really hard. But I had changed my addiction from drugs to work. And I still neglected your needs, your emotional needs. I still wasn't there for you to be your mom. My decisions have played an impact on things that have happened in your life. And there is absolutely nothing I can do to take it away. But I'm working every day, Leilani. Every day between counseling and parenting classes. And taking other classes. Because I want to be better. Because I have to believe that it's still not too late. And that we still have a chance. Regardless of what it looks like. Quinton and the other children changed my life even more. And I was so afraid for you that I never let you fail. I always just scooped right in and fixed everything. Which wasn't good for you. It didn't allow you to grow and to be able to make good decisions for yourself. I do take accountability today. Because I should have been a better mom and a better grandma. I should have seen something. You deserved better, and so do your children, all three of them. We might not be able to bring Quinton back, but he needs to come home, and we're all going to hold him one last time. I just want to make it better, Leilani, and I don't know how. All I can do is be here for you and answer every phone call. Talk to you and be there. Listen, really listen. I'm really listening.
Have a phone call about this.
I love you and we're going to get through it because I raised you to know that I love you unconditionally. And today I do not put conditions on that because I love you. I love you.
Go do some more shots.
You, Leilani.
Let me ask some questions. Did you ever see, we heard a lot of this during the trial. Was there ever any of this favoritism towards Zane or Sky, or Quinton was the outcast?
No, sir. Never.
Okay. And did you ever see Leilani maltreat or withhold food from Quinton?
Never.
Okay. And you understand the sentence is what
Yes,
can be
sir.
life without or life with. And do you think that Leilani is so far gone she should get a life without parole sentence?
Yes.
No, I don't. Because I wasn't so far gone.
Yeah, you were. Your grandson's dead, dude.
And I refuse to let somebody make me believe that I am.
I gotta zip it.
I may be too late for a lot of things, but I'm here today. I'm here.
Not the time. Not
So
the
you're asking
time.
the court to impose a life with parole sentence, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else you want to say before Mr. Dean asks you some questions?
No, sir.
That's all the questions I got.
Okay.
You're her mom.
Yes.
Since day one, you have, and I mean day one of the investigation, Quinton being reported missing.
Yes.
You have been there for her.
Yes.
You were out of town when it happened, but you came back quickly.
Yes.
You have talked to her a lot, right?
Yes.
But before she was ever arrested, and since she's been jailed, right?
Yes.
Is she? You understand the jury has now convicted her of murdering Quinton with intent to kill him. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
12 neutral, unbiased citizens taking a cold look at the evidence have said that is what happened here, beyond a reasonable doubt. You get that, right?
Yes, sir.
In all of the conversations you've had with her, has she ever taken responsibility for doing that?
No, she hasn't. But she has taken responsibility for her drug use.
I know that you've taught her to take responsibility for her actions, because when she says in the news interview, if it comes out that I'm responsible, I'll take responsibility. And she said that separately another time to the police. And I believe that that is coming from your upbringing of her. Do you think that's fair?
Yes, sir, I do.
Has she ever actually done it in this case, though?
No, she hasn't.
She hasn't admitted to you that she killed Quinton.
No, she hasn't.
She hasn't told you how.
No, sir.
She's said things to you about, well, I just don't remember, and I'm not sure, and I'm trying to piece it together, and things like that, right?
Yes, sir.
And you understand that the evidence has just not been consistent with that kind of claim. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
That, evidence shows that she made this very calculated drive to the dumpsters scattered rice cereal.
Tell her what she did. Tell her.
Drafted a text message
Tell
to
her.
Danny about what she was supposedly doing on that trip, getting Orajel, told a bunch of lies about it to the police, right?
Yes, sir. I watched the trial.
And none of that is consistent with her just not knowing what happened. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. But even still, despite all the conversations you've had, and despite you being her mother, the person that she had to confide in, she hasn't even taken responsibility privately in confidence to you, has
No,
she?
she hasn't.
Is that frustrating to you?
Yes, it is.
Do you wish she would just come out and admit to you as her mother what
Yes.
she did?
Yes, I do.
One moment, please. I have no further questions.
What is going on here?
Mr. Hilliard.
I'm a little confused, Ms. Howell, because being convicted of something doesn't necessarily mean you did it, does it?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't.
So
Here we go.
if you're convicted of something you didn't do and you don't admit to it, it doesn't mean you did it. I mean, just because you're convicted of it.
That's correct.
So being convicted of something is not the same thing of admitting something you actually did, now is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can be convicted of something you didn't do, right?
Yes, sir.
You can be acquitted of something you did do, right?
Yes, sir.
And there's all manner of things in between, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all the questions I got.
Anything further, Mr. Dean?
No, you're not.
Ms. Howell, you may step down.
Leilani will never confess, ever.
Any further witnesses, Mr. Hilliard?
I have to give my client an opportunity to allocute if she wants to, but I think that we've already discussed it. I don't think she wants to testify, Judge, but I think that you have to make that inquiry, not me. So.
Bitch won't even speak today. Unbelievable. Whole family's dysfunctional.
Okay. Ms. Simon. Ms. Simon, we've come to the place where you have the opportunity to testify if you choose to do so. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you still have the right to testify, and you also have the right not to testify? Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
No one can make you testify.
Yes,
And whether or not you testify or make a statement is solely your choice, not your attorney's choice, but your choice.
Right.
Do you also understand that if you choose to testify and you take the stand, then the state will have an opportunity to ask you questions as well?
Yes.
And you understand that we are at the point where there's evidence in aggravation and mitigation, and all of this I will consider in determining the sentence today. Do you understand that as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Simon, do you wish to testify?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. You have a seat.
And just for the record, we've discussed it, Judge, and several times, and if she has any questions, she knows she can ask me again at this point. But other than that, we're ready to move into just argument phase.
Okay. Let's move into
Argument phase? Oh my God, we have more?
Mr. Dean.
Here we go.
Your Honor, I will reserve.
If I can approach, Judge.
You certainly may.
One ministerial thing. Early in this case, before I got it, the Public Defender's Office had filed a motion to preserve notes, evidence, and things as such. For the last 2 years, we've tried to figure out why they couldn't release Quinton's remains. It seems that motion is the holdup. I spoke with Mr. Dean last week. I spoke with Ms. Simon. At this point in time, we withdraw that motion from here on out to preserve. That way the remains can go ahead and be released back to the family for appropriate burial. And whatever orders need to be put on to do that, I will get with Mr. Dean and I will do that.
Before Mr. Hilliard gets into the substance of his argument, may I respond and we can kind of bring this issue to a conclusion?
Yes.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Just to clarify, this was during the period of time that the defendant was represented by previous counsel. It was Robert Attridge, Joseph Vinieri, and maybe Caitlin Walker. I believe it was Mr. Vinieri sending me an email asking me to ensure that Quinton's remains, which by that time had come down from the FBI lab in Quantico to the GBI lab in Pooler, I think. It sent me an email asking me to ensure that the remains not be released for interment, but instead retained by law enforcement in case they wanted to request any additional forensic testing. And I got that email and communicated it to law enforcement and asked that they honor that, which they have. And that is, Mr. Hilliard's right, that email is why Quinton's remains have not been released to any family members for burial. In advance of today's hearing, after the most recent of a number of requests to the family from the family that we address this issue, I sent Mr. Hilliard and Mr. Peirce an email asking whether Ms. Simon would lift what essentially functions as like a hold on Quinton's remains on the record, so that we can safely release Quinton's remains to the family for burial or cremation or whatever it is that they ultimately decide to do. Because I very much respect the request and agree that it's probably something that ought to happen. We could agree to that without being accused of spoliation or something like that later on down the line. So I'm happy to hear that they're willing to do that. If I would ask that the court inquire of Ms. Simon personally about that and confirm that she's okay with that, so that everybody can then move forward.
And I was going to get to that next, Judge. I've had the discussion with her about the spoliation and to preserve the record for appeal. We had that discussion, and I'll let her answer for herself in a second. But we understand it could affect the appeal going forward, but she felt that it was more important for the family to be able to bury Quinton than to preserve any possible testing for future references. And I told her both the positives and the negatives of it. Is that correct, Leilani?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I'll let the court engage in a colloquy about that. But we did discuss it, though, correct?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, we did.
And Ms. Simon, you've heard the discussion that's going on right now about Quinton's remains.
Yes, ma'am.
And there was a hold placed on the release of the remains in case there was any further testing that needed to be done. And that request was actually made by the attorneys who originally represented you. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The release will happen, but we want to make sure that's what you would like to do. Would you like for his remains to be released to the family?
Yes. Most specifically, my brother, who's here today, Paul Simon. I would like him to be the one that they're released to.
Now, I don't know how logistically how that works.
I don't know. That has more to do with probate and administration, and I don't know anything about that.
So I think who they're ultimately released to is kind of not our lane. I think that's between like the GBI and the coroner and the police and all that. I think our only concern here is whether, as a result of the defense's requests to the state, they're going to continue to be prevented from being released to anybody at all, or not.
And I understand that, Mr. Dean. I understand that makes sense. So, who the remains will be released to is a matter that's beyond this court. Okay. But you agree to have the remains released?
Yes, Mr. Hillary spoke to me about it on Sunday when he found out about it. I waited until yesterday so I could think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But my son's been through enough. Your Honor, he's been through enough.
Okay. And Ms. Simon, do you have any further questions about that?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
And I would like to. I discussed with you that there could be further testing and science could advance in the years to come.
I know why there would be a downfall. I understand that there's still matter with the and I want my baby home. I just want to go.
All right, thank you, Ms. Simon. You may have a seat.
I wanted to clear that up. My argument's simple, Judge. We're asking for a life with parole sentence. It's only a life with or life without. I understand Mr. Dean gave this long list here. But at the end of the day, she's a young lady, and life in Georgia, at least, is 35 to 40 years before your first eligibility for parole with parole. That puts her in her late 60s, early 70s. Mid-60s to late 60s to early 70s. We understand that we're talking about the death of a 20-month-old child. But Your Honor sat through the trial, and we don't know the manner or method in which it occurred. We still don't, and that's an issue for an appeal, which will go up. The question is whether or not she's someone who should be stuck away for the rest of her life without any possibility of seeing the light of day again. And I urge to you, there's nothing about her criminal history, which is pretty much non-existent until this. There's nothing about her life which shows that she is above any redemption or rehabilitation. The people who know her best have asked the court for a life with parole sentence. So we're asking the court for that. I understand why Mr. Dean wants to do all of these fines. I get it. I understand why he wants to ask for consecutive sentences. I get it. But
right,
to me, the ultimate question is whether it's life with or life without parole. And we think that she deserves life with parole. We think she deserves a shot at coming out again one day. Because it's not just about fashioning a sentence that punishes the crime. You have to realize that the offender is going to be serving the time as well. And while the offender is serving the time, there has to be something to maintain hope or institutional behavior. And in this particular case, I think a life with parole sentence would serve that purpose. So I understand the severity of the crime that she's been convicted of. I understand Mr. Dean's position. I don't agree with it. I don't think there's anything about this case necessarily that means that she's unredeemable or should never see the light of day again. So we're asking the court to give life with parole. We're asking the court to merge the false statements and the concealing of death. We're asking the court to not impose a fine as a life with parole sentence is what it means, life with parole. So there's no manner or method or ability to pay a fine. And I understand the reason why Mr. Dean wants to do that, but I just don't see that there's any ability to pay. So that's what we're asking, and we're leaving it with the court. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Hilliard. Mr. Dean.
Your Honor, will be relieved to hear that I do not have an hour and a half long PowerPoint to present to the court, but I do want to talk for a couple minutes. I'll start with the big picture of what the evidence shows, both through the trial and then the evidence that we've added today. Just, a few simple bullet points here. The defendant didn't like Quinton. There's credible evidence of that. Jury evidently found it credible. Had some witnesses come in and dispute that today, but I would submit that they are not the most objective sources of information on that. Her dislike for Quinton was not a result of any drug problem. It's totally independent of that.
What?
If you combine the testimony of Melanie Bowling and Talia McCarta and Michelle McCarta, it spanned his entire life. Has nothing to do with drugs whatsoever. She murdered him, and the jury has found that she had the specific intent to kill when she did so. And this sets this case apart from cases in which the jury only makes a finding of guilt on felony murder, but acquits on malice murder. This jury did not do that. And there's a great deal of aggravation. Some of the aggravation is charged as independent offenses, concealing the death and false statements and false report of a crime and so forth. Some of it is not. The aggravation includes her covering it up in a deliberate, calculating, and very manipulative way. It involved totally shameless and reprehensible attempts to blame people without conscience, right? Just no compunction about blaming other people who were totally innocent of this and who, in fact, loved Quinton very much. She behaved in a way that shows a total lack of remorse, both during the investigation, when on day one she's asking Paul, hey, do you got some weed to smoke when we get home? On October 18th, when the police have announced that they're about to start searching for Quinton's little body in the landfill, she's out at Stingray's getting drunk and flirting with the waiter.
Oh my God.
In a continuation of what we talked about at trials, to kind of what the theory was here, that a lot of this had to do with her need for male attention. This seems to have continued. She behaved in a way that shows absolutely no remorse and no compunction about what she did during her pretrial investigation and during the trial itself, as we've tried to show here today. Even to her mother, her closest confidant, who taught her to take responsibility for your actions, which is something that Billie Joe Howell, has done. I mean, she did it here today. She talked about all of her missteps and how she pulled herself out of them. She took no responsibility even to her mother, who taught her those things and was her close confidant. It's one thing to not admit to the police what you did and not take any responsibility to the police. It's kind of another thing to treat your mother, whom you claim to love so much, the same way. The upshot of all this is that she just doesn't seem sorry at all. She really doesn't seem sorry. She seems sorry that she got caught. She seems sorry that she's gonna she had to stand trial. She seems sorry that she's going to go to prison for a long time. The only question here is whether it's forever for her. But she doesn't really seem sorry about what she did. If she had been sorry about this at any point, there were a million off-ramps. After killing Quinton, she could have just not thrown his body in a dumpster. We get these abusive head trauma, child homicide cases. Typically, the fact pattern is the perpetrator does the thing, they do the act, and then they just say to the police, oh, I found him in the crib like this, and I don't know why he's not breathing, or there was some sort of accident or something like this. She could have played it that way after killing Quinton. She could have. So that's like off-ramp number one, is just don't throw him in the dumpster. Don't do that. And at any time, she could have stopped telling lies, just refused to talk at all. Certainly didn't have to blame anybody else. She could have just said she didn't know. Certainly didn't have to blame like 3 or 4 different people. So she doesn't seem sorry at all, and she's taken no responsibility, and she seems to sort of think that she's kind of at least playing as though she's the victim. I would ask the court to look at this letter to WTOC and really read it, in which she's playing the role of like a detached commentator evaluating the evidence, and she'd sure love to know what happens, but the problem is she just keeps running into these gaps in the evidence, and that's really frustrating to her because she wants to know what happened. And it's just so infuriating and bizarre because, obviously she knows what happened because she's the one who did it. It is bizarre, it is infuriating, and it is quite frankly insulting to everyone's intelligence, and really makes a mockery of the process. There's been this effort to blame it on drugs and mental health issues. Mr. Hilliard is too smart and savvy and experienced to try to do that directly, because I think he knows that you don't come in and say, Judge, it was the drugs. But some of the witnesses maybe don't have that level of experience and were willing to just say it was the drugs. The drugs did it. To medicalize it, to kind of shift responsibility from her onto her conditions or these substances. Lots of people have tough upbringings. Lots of people take drugs, but very few of them kill their own child. We're familiar with words like homicide, killing somebody else, suicide, killing yourself, fratricide, killing your brother, or biological, or your brother in arms. even infanticide. There's a word for this, the court may or may not know, filicide, killing your own child who's not an infant. A lot of people don't know that word, and the reason a lot of people don't know that word is it just doesn't happen often. It is a heinous thing to do. So heinous, in fact, that people do it very infrequently, and that's what she did. The drugs did not do that. I'll point out something about the drugs in this case. It's easy for people to get up there and kind of say, without really examining like how this would work or what this really means, is, oh, the drugs caused her to do it. Let's just look at the substances that she was on that night: cocaine, Percocet, marijuana. None of these substances are the kind of substances that are going to induce like a psychosis and essentially turn you into a different person or make you do something that you have no control over. You hear about that sort of thing, I guess, like bath salts and things like that. But that is just that's not what she was on. It wasn't anything like that. And it's a total red herring to say that the drugs did it. What she did to him was something that was inside of her already. It was inside of her already. Maybe the drugs lowered her inhibitions. Maybe they acted as an accelerant. Maybe they're like, the match to the candle or something like that. But they didn't cause her to do what she did. She did it. The drugs are not responsible for it. She is. She just did a wicked thing, and she needs to take responsibility for it. And so our recommendation is a total sentence of life without the possibility of parole, plus 65 years and a fine of $117,000. The maximum that I calculate is available under the law. I've emailed the court separately that the count by count breakdown. I won't go through that here, and the justification for the fine. That is essentially our goal there is to ensure that if the defendant ever attempts to profit from her crimes by signing a book deal or taking a paid interview, that there will be an existing financial obligation that will cause at least some of the money, up to $117,000, to be diverted to defray some of the costs associated with her conduct in this case. Now, that brings me to kind of the last question, which is really separate and apart from whether the court judges a fine here, is why life without parole and not life? That's really the only question, is whether the court is going to impose the additional punishment of the life sentence never being parolable. And it's a reasonable thing for the defense to say, gosh, life is a serious sentence. 30 years before you become parole eligible is a long time. And that's true. And we are here asking the court to go above that and to impose the maximum. And I'd like to kind of defend why and argue why. When we talk about sentencing, we talk about the principles of punishment. There are a number of them. We learn them in law school, and they come up in sentencing arguments, and Mr. Hilliard has gestured at some of them, rehabilitation and things like that. And I'll just kind of walk through these. One of the principles of punishment that we talk about is incapacitation, which is incapacitating the offender from committing a similar offense. Somebody is so dangerous, they just need to be locked up to keep them off the street. Now, can I say that incapacitation, the need for incapacitation, justifies the additional sentence of life without parole here? Not really. I don't think that principle of punishment is a justification. That she's so dangerous that life with the possibility of parole is not sufficient. Next, we have deterrence. both specific and general. Specific deterrence meaning the need to have a serious enough sentence that it deters her from doing something similar, and general deterrence, that it deters other people in the community who might contemplate doing the same thing from doing it. I don't know that that's really in play here either. I don't think she needs life without parole versus life to not do it again. And I don't know that there's anybody out there who's contemplating killing their child who's going to go through with it if she gets life without the possibility of parole, but won't go through with it if she gets life without the possibility of parole. And then we have rehabilitation, the need for rehabilitation. I cannot say that there's no chance she could be rehabilitated, that she's totally beyond rehabilitation. I think the court could reasonably find that. I think there's a lot of evidence here that she is incorrigible. But I can't say for sure that after 30 years, she's so beyond the hope of rehabilitation that she has to stay in on that basis, that she just can't be rehabilitated. And so where we end up is at the last principle of punishment that I know of, and that is retribution. Punishment because you deserve it. A harsh punishment because you deserve it by virtue of what you did and how you acted. Not dressed up as being, towards rehabilitation or towards deterrence, but just punishment as a matter of moral desert. This sometimes gets a bad rap. I've heard it described as the least morally defensible principle of punishment. That somehow punishment dressed up as being for rehabilitation or being for deterrence is somehow morally acceptable. That punishment simply because you deserve it, because of what you did. But I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. For one, it is the principle of punishment that, to the state's view, most lines up with the average person's intuition about what punishment is for and their concept of justice. It is actually okay and right and good to punish people harshly simply because they deserve it and not justify it further. You have to get really educated to learn that universal moral intuition is actually a bad thing or somehow wrong. Now, we sometimes kind of accept that what people say about retribution, retributive punishment, is true, that it is less defensible than the other principles of punishment. But there's not a consensus on this. That is actually not the consensus view. There are a lot of very smart academics and legal philosophers who continue to defend and make the case for retribution. There's an article by a legal academic, Dan Markle. He's a professor at Florida State Law School. Coincidentally and tragically, he was actually murdered himself. But he wrote on retributive punishment. In a 2011 article that I found, he talks about how it has both a communicative function and an expressive function. That punishment, retributive punishment, because you deserve it, a harsh sentence, just because you deserve it and you did a really bad thing, communicates to the defendant the seriousness of what they did and society's lack of acceptance for it. And it performs an expressive function too. It communicates to the defendant the seriousness of what she did, and it forms an expressive function. It expresses to society how seriously the court takes behavior like this. And I've got some long quotes in here from these articles. I think I will not read them. I think I will just kind of restate that in my words. Another way of saying this is that a severe sentence, here the harshest one under the law is what we're asking for, sends a message to both her and to the community. And she needs the message. Quite frankly, she needs the message.
Yes, she does.
She doesn't get it. She needs to receive a solemn statement from the court that for an offense like this, And for aggravating circumstances like this,
Yes.
the only punishment that will do, the only punishment that will adequately get through to her the seriousness of what she's done and just how unacceptable her actions are, is the maximum sentence under the law. That appears to be, at this point, the only thing that the court can do to try to get through to her. This letter to WTOC is dated September of this year. She still doesn't get it. And the court should send her a message. One, this is nonsense. And two, you deserve the most severe sanction that the court can lay on you. The court should send the community a message too. To the people that cared about Quinton, who knew him during his life, he was a child in their lives, and to people who came to know him only after the defendant killed him. And why do these people care about him? Simply because he was a child in their community, and that is enough. The court should send a message to them that their intuition about how monstrous it is for a mother to kill her own child and then act like she acted in the aftermath, and what the price tag for that ought to be, that intuition that they have is entirely correct and is shared by the justice system and by the court, which is really their justice system and their court. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Dean, I was looking for the email, and I believe the computer that I'm looking at has not updated, and I would like to have that before me.
What
Would you
email?
also pass up, yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being here, everybody. Just a reminder, hit the like button when you get a moment. It's a free way to get this video out in the algorithm so people replay it. Thank you. I don't know what this email is we're going to hear. I just can't believe no one's speaking for Quinton, not even the prosecutor, really. I mean, I guess he's trying to keep her in prison forever at this point. That's what he's trying to drive home. He said he emailed a breakdown of the fines, etc.
Okay. I'm going to pronounce sentence.
Here we go.
Please
She's
stand.
sentencing her right now. Here we go. Write me out.
The one thing that I will say before pronouncing sentence is clearly little Quinton Simon's life and death impacted many, many individuals, but also the community at large. Leilani Marie Simon, the court sentences you as follows. Count 1, malice murder, felony, life with the possibility of parole. Count 2, felony murder, vacated by operation of law. Count 3, felony murder is vacated by operation of law. Count 4, concealing the death of another, 10 years consecutive to count 1. Count 5, false report of a crime is a misdemeanor, 12 months concurrent to count 4. Count 6, making a false statement, 5 years concurrent with count 4. Count 7, making a false statement concurrent with count 4, 5 years. Count 8, false statement, 5 years, concurrent with count 4. Count 9, making a false statement, 5 years, concurrent with count 4. Count 10 merges into count 9.
Concurrent means at the same time, right?
Count 11, 5 years, concurrent with count 4. Count 12, making a false statement, 5 years, concurrent with count 4. Delia, did I get count 11?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Count 13, making a false statement, 5 years, concurrent with count 4. Count 14 merges into count 13.
Merges?
Count 15, 5 years, concurrent with count 4. Count 16, making a false statement, 5 years, concurrent with count 4. Count 17 merges into 16. Count 18, 5 years.
Let's see
to
what it all
serve
adds.
concurrent with count 4.
Let's see what it all adds up to
And
be.
false statements, making a false statement. Count 19, concurrent with count 4. That is 5 years as well. Is there any issue that the state wants to point out with the sentence and the merger of the counts?
Was count 4, the 10 years to serve on count 4, was that consecutive to count 1?
It is consecutive to count 1.
And may I presume that the court is not imposing any fines?
No. Mr. Hilliard?
So just to make sure, life plus 10 is the operative sentence?
Life plus 10.
Life with pump. And I guess we should do the same appeal as well. So.
And with that, Ms. Simon, you are hereby notified that under the law of Georgia, you are entitled to appeal the guilty verdict of the court. And if you decide to do so, you must file your appeal within 30 days of this date. You are also informed that you have the right to retain a lawyer of your own choice to represent you on your post-trial motions and appeals to the appropriate appellate court of Georgia. If you cannot afford a lawyer, the court will appoint one for you. You are entitled to and will be given a transcript of all pre-trial, trial, and post-trial matters without cost to you if you cannot afford a transcript. You may file a motion for a new trial, or you may appeal your case directly to the appropriate appellate court of Georgia for review. I'm signing the statement of appeal. I will hand this down to the clerk.
This is Georgia.
Will please hand that to Mr. Hilliard.
$40 Robin. I'll be 91 years old. That is so scary. Welcome to Jay's for Justice. This, I don't know. I have to hear what this all means. UA, I will bring you up. Let's wait till this ends. I want to see if they're going to do like a presser. I don't know if Billy Joe's going to talk or anything. I want to do that.
With the assistance of counsel, Ms. Simon has acknowledged in writing her statement of appeal rights.
And the habeas statement is as follows. You are advised that the statute of limitations for habeas corpus in this state is 4 years in the case of felonies and 1 year in the case of misdemeanors. The statute begins to run from the date the conviction becomes final. All right. May there be peace somehow.
Nothing further from the defense, Judge.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anything further?
No, you're
Nothing from
Soft.
the state, nothing from the defense.
No, you're
All right. This concludes this matter. We are adjourned.
Do you think she even really understands it? If we're kind of
Julia, did you get everything that you need?
kind of confused. Let me get you guys a link. We can discuss this. Jay Ballou says 40 years before she's eligible for parole. She doesn't seem like she really understands what is going on here. Let me get y'all a link. We need to talk this out. I don't feel like there was justice for Quinton today. Where was the discussion of Quinton? Where was his picture? Where was people advocating for him? She does look confused. I don't think she even understood. I know I didn't understand the shit, but I'm no lawyer. So let's get some people up here that might know a little bit more than me. UA. And you guys, if anybody else wants to come up, Nash or anybody, here's the link. Y'all want to come up. Come on down. You're the next contestant on J is for Justice. So let's get this turned off here. Let me switch it over to here. Come on up. Hopefully that link works. Let me know. Let's talk this one out. So, Bobby Joe. Billy Joe went up there and basically took, responsibility for being a crap mother, for being on drugs herself. I didn't really hear, I don't know if she even mentioned Quinton. I wasn't taking notes. I was going to take notes and I didn't. I was all up in my feels and just didn't do it. You're going backwards in the case. BJ allowed this to happen. Where are her charges? Right? I know. All right. UA is up here.
Hey.
Hey, girl.
Okay, so basically, her in Georgia, as I understand it, a life sentence is 30 years. So on the first count, she got the 30 years life with the possibility of parole. Then the other charges, basically, with the exception of count 4, were concurrent, to be served concurrently. So that means at the same time that those first 30 years begin, those charges, she's starting to serve her time for those convictions on those counts.
So
now on count
when does
4,
okay, go ahead.
On count 4 is when it becomes consecutive to life, the life sentence. So that means after she served her 30 years, then she has to serve the additional 10 years before she's eligible for parole.
Oh, okay. So when is she eligible for parole? Like, what determines that? Did they say?
Well, you have you'll usually have sometimes like credit for good behavior. So, like in Susan Smith's case or whatever, you'll have you can sometimes knock off a day for good behavior, and shave off time, that way. But she's I would say she's looking at, without any credit for good behavior, she's looking at 40 years minimum.
Like before she's eligible.
Before she would be eligible for parole.
Oh,
correct.
Okay. I didn't know. I was like, God, can they make her eligible in like 10 years?
No, if now that's why they clarified, because everything, if you notice, the lawyers were thinking, usually they do it to where it's all concurrent, and that's why the lawyer even clarified and said, now on that count 4, that's was that consecutive or concurrent? And the judge clarified that she wanted that to be consecutive. I think that the reason that the judge did that was, her age You know, and I think that she said, you know, I'm going to give her, I don't want to give her 30, you know, just 30 years, but I do want to say that there's maybe some hope of redemption, but I don't want her to be eligible for parole just after the 30 years, which is why I'm going to add this one on count 4 and make it consecutive.
That makes sense. How old is she now? Does anybody know?
When they were doing the math, they said what if she did the life sentence, she would be eligible in late 60s.
Oh, wow.
But so I'm wondering, yeah, I don't know how old she is now. I can't.
It's just crazy because, like, okay, even if it's, you know, mid 60s or whatever, she's in her 60s. Who's going to be around for her if she were to get out? You know what I mean? Like, Susan Smith was like, oh, I'm going to go live with my brother. Maybe her brother, I guess. But I don't know. Their
Yeah.
lifestyle doesn't seem like they're going to live, you know, into the late ages with the way they're, I don't know, they run themselves hard.
Yeah.
And so who would like help her out? She's already in there. You know, she wasn't even convicted and sentenced, and she's talking to a registered sex offender. So like, who's she
Right.
going to surround herself with? That's what I
Seems
worry
like
about.
she's showing poor judgment. Maybe she during the next 40 years, she has some time to develop a little bit better judgment.
God, you know, I just don't have a lot of faith in people going in the prison system and coming out better. And not to change
Right.
the subject, but I'm pissed because it just came out that Lyle Menendez, the one who's crying about abuse to get out, has duped me. And I'm mad because he has a 21-year-old girlfriend.
Oh,
He was
wow.
just exposed. He's divorcing his wife, who has set up this Facebook for him for his freedom and shit. Sorry, I have to rant about this before we continue
Yeah.
with Leilani. I'm so mad. He met this girl through that Facebook that his wife made, that has sat there and supported him all these years. And now he's with someone 35 years younger. I'm so angry. Ugh.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if she's just using him for this like sick twisted fame, and she just leaves him after a while.
And here he's supposed to get out because his abuse, you know, the claims weren't believed. I am just
Right.
like, wow.
Right.
Mm-mm-mm.
Hold on one second. I've got to mute
You're
because I'm
okay.
just may lose me because I'm going in an elevator. Hold on one second.
Oh, you're okay. It makes me so mad. Because I was like, oh, are we worried that if they get out, they're going to repeat that that behavior that was learned by their father that they claim? And here he is, sick, just sick. Right. And he's not even out. He was talking to her on an illicit cell phone he wasn't supposed to have. Ugh. Uh-oh, you're robotic. Are you still in the elevator? Oh, God, that just really makes me mad. He's the bald one. Duty Ron was
Didn't
not
they
happy
say
with
that
the
he
judge.
had this like model
Oh, yeah. Model. Yes.
behavior too while he was incarcerated?
Yes. And I went live about it and tooted his fucking horn. And I am so mad. That is disgusting. Ugh. Anyways, I've got the letter that Leilani wrote to the media. Thank you for explaining that, by the way. And feel free to stay up if you can.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got home, so I'm good now.
Have you ever heard this letter?
No, I haven't.
Okay, me either. So September 2nd, 2024, just a couple months ago, she writes to WTOL. There is no factual evidence against me. None. As in no concrete, without a doubt evidence. All the state has is speculation based on circumstantial evidence. Nothing, however, based in fact with undeniable proof evidence. This is what the state doesn't have. No DNA evidence, no forensic, no eyewitnesses, no murder weapon, no camera video evidence, no time of death to prove I was at home during tragedy, no cause of death, no proof of any previous abuse to Quinton or other children. I understand if you're skeptical of what I just wrote, but I assure you it's the truth. It's fact. I implore you to do your own investigation into my claims to confirm. The public deserves to hear, to know some of the facts of this case, and not only speculation based on circumstantial evidence. I firmly believe that if the investigators weren't mainly focused on me from day one of the investigation, that they may have found the evidence they lack, and therefore the actual murderer. They, the state, are attempting to railroad me instead of admitting they have accused the wrong person for the past almost 2 years.
That's probably why didn't speak.
Unreal. This just keeps getting grosser and grosser. Now, Yue, what did you think about the lack of mention of Quinton today?
I thought that ever I just would have made, like, it was almost like a passing thought. Like, even in the prosecutor, he was just like kind of glossed over why it was so important, like why his life mattered. And I think it should have been more about Quentin and all the things that that Leilani deprived him of.
Absolutely.
And the fact that he was, hit home on, I would have hit home on the fact that how she viewed him, how she viewed Quentin in relation to her other children, too.
Yeah, the different treatment.
Right, the different treatment. He didn't just die at her hands. He also was mistreated his entire life on Earth by her as well. And I was surprised by how the prosecutor didn't hammer home that a little bit more. And I wish there would have been more people there
I do too.
to,
I wish they would have had at least a picture.
yeah, to actually, I had one of my friend, I was friends with a circuit court judge, and one of the things that they have these sentencing guidelines that they go by, especially for first time offenders. Um, and it's just like, you know, I feel like the judge kind of tried to play, like, take the middle ground in the sentencing. Um, and
She was soft.
yeah, and this letter just proves to me even more that, I don't have any hope that she's probably, it sounds like she's almost convinced herself of the fact that she didn't do it
Right.
in this letter.
It's going to take a hell of a lot, in my opinion, to get her to the step one, which is admitting.
Right.
And 2 years didn't even get her there. 2 years, and she's sitting here writing this bullshit.
I did see her shed some tears, but it didn't seem like it was for anybody but,
her.
Yeah, it was for her. And
Yeah, like her brother, oh, she's still my sister, and she starts crying because she's thinking of her relationship with her brother. That had nothing to do
Right.
with Quinton.
Right. And then blaming it on, I'm sorry, there are plenty of people that are addicts out there. They don't go and murder their children.
Right.
Addiction is not an excuse.
No.
It's not.
No.
That's
It's neglectful and all of those other things, but definitely I don't see it as any excuse for what she did.
And that the lady that was on the stand talking about drugs are to blame for that. No, Leilani's to blame.
What did you think of BJ's speech?
I missed that part. I caught different parts of it, but I mean, I didn't see that.
Do you want to rewatch it?
Yeah, we could rewatch a little bit of it. Yeah,
I don't know how much time you have. I didn't know how much.
I have. Yeah, no, I have time. Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting. I want to go back. I actually want to pay attention and see if she talked about Quinton, because I don't.
Different parts of it.
I can't recall.
I didn't.
Okay,
see
hold
that.
on. Let me rewind here. I don't recall her mentioning Quinton or the aunt, for that matter. It was more like she was taking responsibility for being a shitty mom, and it's like, dude, go to therapy for that shit. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't have the best relationships with their moms or parents, but
right. But she took the opportunity to say, I failed you and your brothers and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, great.
Right.
I would like to see her have more accountability than just that, I guess. But here she is. She wasn't up there too long, so it's not too long. Here we go.
Yeah.
Truth and nothing but the truth. So help
I'll
you
boost the
God.
audio.
If you would, ma'am, state your name and spell it for the court reporter.
Billy Joe Howell. It's Billy, Billie, Joe, J-O, Howell, Howell.
And you are Miss Simon's mother, correct?
Yes.
And you understand what we're here for today, correct?
Yes, sir, I do.
And I've asked you to come forward and, if you wanted to make a statement on Leilani's behalf. Did I not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you understand the court is the only sentence in the state of Georgia on a murder conviction is either life with or life without parole. You understand that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but you still having a chance to address the court and say what's on your mind. Would you like to do that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you can either speak naturally, or I can ask you questions, or you can read from a prepared statement if you'd like to, Ms. Howell. Which do you prefer? Not trying to put you on the spot, but you were unsure before.
I am still unsure.
Okay.
I know drugs has taken and had a huge impact on our entire lives. Even as Leilani's childhood, I failed her as a mom. I allowed addiction to take over my life at a young age. And you and your brother were just babies. And you lived with my sister. And I made sure you were okay. And through those times, it was still really hard on you because you wanted your mom. Just like I know they're going to want their mom. When you come to live with me, I'd already changed my life. And I'd been working really hard. But I had changed my addiction from drugs to work. And I still neglected your needs, your emotional needs. I still wasn't there for you to be your mom. My decisions have played an impact on things that have happened in your life. And there's absolutely nothing I can do to take it away. But I'm working every day, Leilani. Every day between counseling and parenting classes. And taking other classes. Because I want to be better. Because I have to believe that it's still not too late. And that we still have a chance. Regardless of what it looks like. Quinton and the other children changed my life even more. And I was so afraid for you that I never let you fail. always just scooped right in and fixed everything, which wasn't good for you.
You didn't
It didn't
skip
allow
in and
you to grow and to be able to make good decisions for yourself. I do take accountability today. Because I should have been a better mom and a better grandma. I should have seen something.
Hey, Southernish, good to see you.
You deserved better. And so do your children. All three of them. We might not be able to bring Quinton back, but he needs to come home. And we're all going to hold him one last time.
Huh?
I just want to make it better, Leilani, and I don't know how. All I can do is be here for you and answer every phone call. Talk to you and be there. Listen, really listen. I'm really listening.
Have a phone call about this. Let's hear
I'm gonna say this is a
I love
therapy
you, and we're gonna get
session,
through
not
it.
not
Because I raised you to know that I love
Right?
you unconditionally. And today I do not put conditions on that. Because I love you. I love you. I
Go do some more
love
shots.
You, Leilani.
Let me ask some questions. Did you ever see, we heard a lot of this during the trial. Was there ever any of this favoritism towards Zane or Sky, or Quinton was the outcast?
No, sir.
Oh.
Never.
Okay.
Wait. I want to point something out.
And
Hold up.
did you ever see, Sky, or was there ever...
Watch Stepdaddy right here. Watch how he's all distraught, right? But then watch how he looks up when he asks about abuse. Look at the look on his face. It's weird. Watch.
We heard a lot of this during the trial. Was there ever any of this favoritism towards Zane or Sky, or Quinton was the outcast?
No, sir. Never.
Okay. And
Why did I find that so
did
weird?
you ever see Leilani maltreat or withhold food from Quinton?
Never.
And you understand the sentence is what
Yes,
can be
sir.
life without or life with. And do you think that Leilani is so far gone she should get a life without parole sentence?
Yes.
No, I don't. Because I wasn't so far gone.
Yeah, you were. Your grandson's
I'm not.
dead, dude.
And I refuse to let somebody make me believe that I am.
I gotta zip it.
I may be too late for a lot of things, but I'm here today. I'm here.
Not the time. Not
So
the
you're asking
time.
the court to impose a life with parole sentence, correct?
Yes.
Anything else you want to say before Mr. Dean asks you some questions?
How old
Call
is
the
her
question.
brother? Okay, that's the. Now we're gonna hear from the other lawyer. Sorry, what you're hearing was when I was live. It scared the shit out of me when I heard my own voice. Oh. And again, I ask why grandma, if she's learned so much and wants to be better, why she doesn't have a picture of that baby boy in her hand.
because she's still blaming her. Like she's clearly blaming her
daughter.
I don't. She's not really even. She's making excuses for her daughter. Is what she's doing.
Mm-hmm. So she's saying, okay, I was a bad mom. You didn't get the best upbringing. Therefore,
Right.
I understand why you are messed up, but I'm here for you. And we still have a chance at this. So in other words, she's blaming the drugs. She failed her.
Right. That was the first word out of her mouth. I think
Mhm.
She almost mentioned. She mentioned drugs and addiction as many times I think as she mentioned Quinton's name.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, let's listen to the cross now. He kind of puts it in her face. Is pretty good. Totally deflecting. Hey, Sarah.
You're her mom.
Yes.
Since day one,
Or
you
was
have,
that the
and I mean
prosecutor?
day one of the investigation, Quinton being reported missing.
Yes.
You had been there for her.
Yes.
You were out of town when it happened, but you came back quickly.
Yes.
You have talked to her a lot, right?
Yes.
But before she was ever arrested and since she's been jailed, right?
Yes.
Is she, you understand the jury has now convicted her of murdering Quinton with intent to kill him. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
12 neutral, unbiased citizens taking a cold look at the evidence have said that is what happened here, beyond a reasonable doubt. You get that, right?
Yes, sir.
In all of the conversations you've had with her, has she ever taken responsibility for doing that?
No, she hasn't. But she has taken responsibility for her drug use.
Oh, Lord.
I know that you've taught her to take responsibility for her actions, because when she says in the news interview, if it comes out that I'm responsible, I'll take responsibility. And she said that separately another time to the police. And I believe that that is coming from your upbringing of her. Do you think that's fair?
Yes, sir, I do.
Has she ever actually done it in this case, though?
No, she hasn't.
She hasn't admitted to you that she killed Quinton.
No, she hasn't.
She hasn't told you how.
No, sir.
She's said things to you about, well, I just don't remember, and I'm not sure, and I'm trying to piece it together, and things like that, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you understand that the evidence has just not been consistent with that kind of claim? Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
That, evidence shows that she made this very calculated drive to the dumpsters, scattered rice cereal.
Tell her what she did. Tell her.
Drafted a text message
Tell
to
her.
Danny about what she was supposedly doing on that trip, getting Oragel, told a bunch of lies about it to the police, right?
Yes, sir. I watched the trial.
And none of that is consistent with her just not knowing what happened. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. But even still, despite all the conversations you've had, and despite you being her mother, the person that she had to confide in, she hasn't even taken responsibility privately in confidence to you, has
No,
she?
she hasn't.
Is that frustrating to you?
Yes, it is.
Do you wish she would just come out and admit to you as her mother what
Yes.
she did?
Yes, I do.
One moment, please. I have no further questions.
What is going on here?
I'm a little confused, Ms. Howell, because being convicted of something doesn't necessarily mean you did it, does it?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't.
So
Here we go.
if you're convicted of something you didn't do and you don't admit to it, it doesn't mean you did it. I mean, just because you're convicted of it.
That's correct.
Any questions?
So being convicted of something is not the same thing of admitting something you actually did, now is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can be convicted of something you didn't do, right?
Yes, sir.
You can be acquitted of something you did do, right?
Yes, sir.
And there's all manner of things in between, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all the questions I got.
Anything further?
Well, they're clearly setting her up for an appeal.
There you go.
Ms. Howell, you may step down.
Leilani will never confess, ever. Do you think she'll ever confess?
No. They're setting this up for an appeal. That's what that whole line of
Why do you say that?
usually okay, so usually I worked for before law school, I worked for a high profile criminal defense attorney. And usually, if you are, your client's been convicted, you want them to take accountability. You want them to show remorse for their actions. You want them in order to get a lighter sentence from the judge, and when your client is kind of adamant of and refusing to take ownership and trying to say what she's laying out in that letter, that she didn't do it, then that's kind of how you approach sentencing. That's the only reason it makes sense.
What did you think of Billy Joe overall?
I think the prosecution, the state did a good job of pointing out that she had not taken any, she had never, she had taught her to, quote unquote, taught her to take responsibility and accountability, but yet she had never once done that to her. In the, time since Quinton had gone missing and was ultimately, found to be unalive. So I think the state did a good job in pointing that out. But I think she's making some excuses for Leilani. And I guess like part of her has, because of her addiction and her, she blames herself, but that's not that again, that's no excuse for what Leilani did. And she's just, it seems like a Hail Mary.
That's what she should have been saying, in my opinion, when the kids were first taken from Leilani's care. Right?
Right.
That's when she should have been saying, my God, I failed this girl. But she didn't.
Yeah.
And they used Danny as a damn scapegoat. The aunt went on the stand. The one that, the sister that she said she sent her to live with when she was a baby.
Right.
And she completely put it on Danny and Leilani equally.
Mm-hmm.
And then the stepfather got up there and said, nothing has been proved. Nothing was proven in the trial. And I was like, what? They are all enablers.
Right. That's what addiction teaches you. It's like codependency, enabling, lack of accountability.
Oh my God.
Lack of remorse.
Yes. It's like,
I mean, congratulate, like you're still in that addiction mindset of making excuses for your actions.
absolutely. It's disturbing.
And without a family to, as a moral compass to hold her accountable and force her to kind of take responsibility for her actions, I don't see her doing very well and ever, showing remorse or anything like that that would, allow her to one day ever see the light of day outside of a prison.
Isn't it crazy though that in 40 years from now or whatever, right? 40 years?
Yeah, if the minimum is if it's 30 years, I haven't looked it up. It's either 30 or 35, but I think it's 30.
Okay, so regardless, she'll be in her 60s, old and gray by that time. And she will have this parole hearing. And I just wonder what that would look like.
Probably like Susan Smith's yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a really good example, isn't it?
Yeah.
She had the weird minister friend and his wife. That was it.
Right. And it was all about her. It was all about Susan, and I think it'll all be about Leilani and how she's,
Mm-hmm.
she'll have convinced herself that they didn't have that, she didn't do it. It was the drugs that did it, I didn't do it.
Yeah, it's sick. It's the same storyline. Unbelievable,
So,
ma'am. Thank you for coming up and explaining all that, though.
no
I'm
problem.
glad
Yeah,
you get
I
to
guess
use
a
your
little.
knowledge.
Yeah, it's like it gets confusing a little bit when it comes to like, consecutive and concurrent. Some people don't understand or the merging of, charges. But yeah, that's
Especially when they're doing it both ways, you know?
right, right. And typically, when you have like when the life without parole or life with the chance of parole is given, they usually run them all concurrently. So it was kind of ironic to me to hear on that fourth count that she did give her the 10 years consecutive.
Right.
So I'm glad she did do that.
Yeah, probably like you said, because of that letter.
That or, just because she felt like 30 years wasn't enough, but she wanted to give her some
Mm-hmm.
chance of redeeming herself, of maybe finding finding God or whatever it is that she,
She's going to do.
will, yeah, to maybe be a productive member of society at, the bingo table when she's 70.
I can't even
Um,
imagine. I'll be 90. I'll be in my 90s, so I don't know.
I just, it's clear that she had no remorse. If I was the judge, I would have, but I think they're ready to appeal this. That was very clear to me in the redirect by her attorney
At the very end, yeah.
that there's no evidence, just because she was found guilty,
Doesn't mean she did it.
right. And usually, like, if you're not planning on, appealing, or even if you are planning on appealing, this strategy usually is to take ownership and then appeal later and then say, oh, ineffective assistance of counsel or something like that, but yeah,
So
it
she's
was
probably going
pretty
to try
clear.
to hold on to her innocence.
Yeah, she's definitely going to be appealing this. I would put money on that.
Yeah, what are the
For sure.
chances, though, that it would get...
Your chances of winning an appeal are slim to none.
Slim to none?
Appellate, yeah. I mean, going through the, like, you really have to demonstrate. There's like it kind of like what you have in Richard Allen's case. You have like what are called harmless errors and what are considered errors that would have changed the course of the verdict. So you're going to have to prove, regardless of what line of theory she wants to go down in her appeal, you're going to have to prove that those were substantial errors that would have changed the outcome.
Gotcha. Robin says we'll be here on my channel for it.
What would be interesting too is didn't BJ appear on a QB's panel at one point?
I believe so, yeah.
I would be interested to what may be interesting to compare what she said on that panel to what she said today.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I've ever heard her on there. I've seen her in the chat. And in the chat, I think her name's like Nana's Love or something.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remembered them mentioning that being mentioned in passing, and it made me wonder.
Yeah, I don't remember
what was she saying then versus what she said today. Like, was she saying anything? Did she say anything differently about what Leilani had said, or did she
good
seem
question.
that maybe?
Good question. Because they were out at the bar, and that got put on the news. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, the actual news went to the damn bar, and then I think there was an interview with like the server or bartender or something.
Yeah. I'd be curious to hear what that.
Yeah, I don't know what time frame that she had her on. Like,
yeah,
if it was during,
it was
before she
before
was
it was.
charged?
Yeah, I think it. I mean, it was before. It was pre-trial. I want to say.
Maybe it's been more than once. I don't know.
Maybe so. I'm just curious to see if there's any differences in what she was saying back then.
Well, I'll show you what she was. I'll show you what she was saying to the babysitter back then. You want to see that?
Sure.
Okay, let's watch this raw video from WSAV 3 2 years ago.
Don't put nothing in your yard. Go ahead. This is my baby, not yours. That's your right, bud. That's my baby. I text you and I told you what was my baby. Oh, so now it's my fault. You need to go get him.
Y'all need to get off the property.
I text you. I asked you over and over. I got the text. Over and over I asked you. So you want to blame me? I don't care about the text. You think I'm going to hit you at me? Hey, you think I would do that? Yeah. Really? Because you your family, your entire family.
I didn't ask you. I got
Your entire family. Keep recording.
Don't take my phone.
Keep recording.
Don't
take
my phone.
Good,
Yeah,
you were
okay,
wrong.
all this on social
You were wrong.
media.
I begged you to help. I begged you to help. Put that on
nothing.
social media. I begged you to help.
Oh, yeah, and I got
begged you to
text where I
help.
text you.
They
were in the
I said, hey,
ditch.
Michelle, please get the
Yeah,
kids.
you're a liar.
Take them. I'll give you
Oh, you're a
300 a
liar.
week.
Well, I'm about to put it
I'm
all
a
over.
liar.
I'm about to put.
I'm a liar.
I'm about to put it all over.
Good. Good, because
over.
you're awful to say you're going to put a memorial. My baby's not dead.
You are a liar.
My baby's not
You are a
dead.
liar.
My baby's not
You are
dead.
You're a liar. You're a liar.
No, you are.
You are.
My baby's not dead. I thought you
I
was a
didn't
woman of
say
God.
that.
I thought you were a woman of God. You got Quinton? Do you have Quinton?
I
Oh,
don't
wait,
have
you guys can't see it? Can you see it, UA?
No, I couldn't hear it, so I had to listen to it on my iPad.
Oh my
but
God,
no, I
I'm so
couldn't hear it.
sorry. I didn't know y'all
No.
couldn't see it. What the fuck? I forgot.
It
Oh my
sounded-
God. I forgot to add it to the. Oh my God. I'm so freaking sorry. I hate to make you listen to this shit again, but you have to see it. My apologies. I forgot to put it on the fucking screen.
Go ahead. Don't put nothing in your yard.
Go ahead.
This is my baby, not yours.
That's your right, but
That's my baby.
I text you and I told you what
That's
was
my
going
baby.
on.
Oh, so now it's my fault. You need to go get him.
Y'all need to get off the property.
I
text you. I got the text.
over and over
I got
again.
the text.
Over and over I asked
I got
you.
the
So
text.
you want to blame me? I don't
Go
care
ahead,
about
go
your
ahead.
text. You
Go
think I'm going
ahead.
to hit you me? Who do you think I would do that?
Yeah, the property.
Really?
Because you are.
I'm what?
No one likes
I'm
you.
what?
You blame
I'm
me.
what? No, I don't blame
Yeah, you
nobody.
did.
I should not have been out of
Yeah,
town.
you did. You shouldn't have.
No, I'm not trying to provide.
The ditch.
I was trying to provide.
I told you.
I was trying to provide. I even provided for you, you
didn't.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I didn't pay for your family, your entire family.
I didn't ask you. I got
Your
text
entire
I
family.
told you
Keep
not
recording.
to.
Don't take
we
my
got
phone.
cameras,
Keep recording.
you got
Don't
cameras.
take my phone. Good,
Yeah,
you were
okay,
wrong.
all this on social
You were wrong. I
media.
begged you to help. I begged you to help.
don't
Put that on
need nothing.
social media. I begged you to help.
Oh yeah, and I got
begged
text
you to
where I
help.
text you.
They were. I said, hey, Michelle, please get the
Yeah,
kids.
you're a liar.
Take them. I'll give you
Oh, you're
300
a
a
liar.
week.
Well, I'm about to put it all
I'm a
over.
liar.
I'm about to put.
I'm a liar.
I'm about to put it all over.
Good. Good, because
over.
you're awful to say you're going to put a
liar.
memorial. My baby's
You're a
not
liar.
dead.
You are a liar.
My baby's not
are a
dead.
liar.
My baby's not
You are
dead.
You're a liar. You're a liar.
No, you are.
You are.
My baby's not dead. I thought you
I
was a
didn't
woman of
say
God.
that.
I thought you were a woman of God.
I am.
You got Quinton? Do you have Quinton?
I don't have Quinton. You're the one
Maybe
that
you
texted
do.
me.
Maybe you do. You got him.
Okay.
You got him.
Well, I'm about to call the police.
You're the only one that can go in my house and take him. Your kids go in my house and take him all the time.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
We did not go in her house.
I want to see your on the news.
Oh, it's gonna be. Oh yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah, baby, we need to look at some green cards.
Yeah, we did. We did.
She's gonna put a memorial up in her yard. Quinton's not dead.
I didn't put a memorial.
He's not dead.
No one said he was.
Wow.
Wow is right. Jesus. I do have a clip of BJ on Queen Bee's panel talking about turning Leilani in. So that sounds like something we can compare what she said today.
Yeah. I'd like to.
I mean,
hear that.
obviously emotions were running high, but obviously, coming at the babysitter like that instead
Yeah.
of the last one that was with them and the one who gave birth and was responsible for him. I don't know.
Right. And the one that didn't have custody of him for,
Right. Ugh, it's sickening. All right, let's see. Gosh, if I don't share it back on the screen, holler. I can't believe I was sitting there with it not up. Okay, here we go. Share screen. Add to the damn panel. There we go. Okay, so this is a clip. It's not the whole thing. It's let's see, 7 minutes long. And this is from Queen Bee. Let's see when this was. 1 year ago, November 23rd. Ooh, weird. Almost a year to the day. Billy Joe speaks on what it was like turning her daughter into the FBI on a charge of malice murder in the death of her son, Quinton Simon. So, here we go.
All you want, but today I dropped my daughter off to the police.
Oh, the music.
And they said they picked her up. From where? Ask them from where? The FBI office? Because that's where I dropped her off at.
Well, and I was kind of confused because they said that they had found Quinton. So I was kind of confused about what they.
Well, I was asked not to speak about that, so I didn't. So every time somebody blew up my phone and said something about it, I had no idea that they had put it out to the press.
Wow.
No idea.
So they put it out
I'm
without they
trying
told
to-
you don't speak on it, but they put it out to the press.
And they put it out to the press, and then I'm like,
as his grandmother, you bet they asked you not to speak on it. And then
I got a phone call. Well, first thing this morning, I already had 2 outfits of clothes, warm clothes, and a couple of packs of cigarettes. And there's a place that I could take and drop these things off. I do not get to see her or talk to her, but I can drop these things off there because I have not been aware of her whereabouts once I entered her into this place until today. So I get back home, I get a phone call that is telling me that she has checked herself out, which hurt my heart because I know that she needs more mental health and rehab to help her get through the next part of her life. And as a mother, if you don't think about those things, but I felt it important today to say a part because it wasn't given to me through any report that came through on the news today, which I'm going to tell you hurt my heart because the only thing I've asked for through this entire time that I have been compliant and in contact with the FBI and police every day is that they restore my home to a safe home. A safe home. That is not a hard request with what they have put me through.
Huh?
I could not be here while they were on the news saying, we don't know where she's at, but we know she's not a flight risk. She wasn't a flight risk because of me. I put her somewhere that not even I knew where she was. And I did that for a reason.
Flight risk.
One, for my own sanity. Because every day got harder to where I could not move. So, let's go back to today's events. All that don't matter. Let's talk about today. I get a call that tells me she is checking herself out, which she is not under any court order. She can do those things. And she wants me to come pick her up. Well, I've made it clear that she cannot be at my home. That she cannot. So I tell these people to give me a few minutes, let me call them back, and I call the FBI. Whenever I call the FBI, they give me a few minutes, let me see what I can figure out. I'm telling them at this point that I feel like if she doesn't have somewhere that she can go, she is going to end up somewhere that is going to make her a flight risk. So I call them back.
I can't with the music.
I pick her up at about 11:30, 11:45, in between that time. I pick her up. I take her to Chinatown, buffet restaurant, so she can have a good meal. Because from what I know, and I take her to the FBI office. And me and Beth sit there for 4 hours. And in that 4 hours, I got to spend some time with Leilani. And I was able to talk with her. And just before they arrested her, I went inside, I hugged her. And I prayed, and I had to step back from her. There was a lot I said, but I can't say it again at this point. And I held my hands on her arms, and I just looked at her in her eyes, and I told her that she's going to be in dark places. And it's going to be hard. But this is a walk that she has to walk alone.
Just
and when I walked away from her, they started reading her rights so they could take her to jail. And I went and got in the car, and less than 5 minutes from where they are to my house, less than 5 minutes, it was already all over the news. It was all over everything. My phone has been blowing up. People, I still don't have fucking answers. I still don't have fucking answers.
Well, let's see if she continues talking. Okay, that's it.
Well, I mean, you can get some answers if you ask your daughter, maybe.
She said the same thing today.
Again, it was all about her in that. Like, it wasn't. It was weird.
Very.
I almost was like, is she sober? Like, she just. I mean, like, it's just these aren't normal thoughts. Like, it's like, concern of. It was just odd, very odd. From the music to but whatever. I mean, it was just,
I could have done without the music, but
yeah.
I don't know. I don't. Passing the buck.
Yeah. And then it's blaming like blaming the people that are well, what'd you expect? I mean, like, as soon as she's booked in, they're gonna know. Like, everybody's gonna know.
Yeah, a lot of denial. It runs in the family, just like Jammers
It
said,
it clearly runs in the family. And it was obvious that she didn't have the best example in life by that display with the babysitter. But God, still no more. There was no excuse for what she did, what Leilani did, and it didn't seem like, I know on the stand it's like I've taught her to take a no, yeah, it didn't. It seems like you may have convinced yourself you've taught her to take accountability for her actions, but no,
I feel
you
like
can't even
today
take
she did
accountability.
one thing she did admit today is that she did not hold Leilani accountable for anything. And she's correct on that. She did admit that.
Right. She did, and she did admit that Leilani never, took accountability or never, I mean,
I don't know. I just think that. Okay, so wait. I want to ask you about the remains of little Quinton. Those remains had been held or are still
Right.
being held. And they gave her an opportunity to stand up in court today and state where she wants those remains, who she wants them to go to. That seems kind of ass backwards to me. Like you are convicted of killing your child, but you still have a right to say where his remains go after that.
That's very strange to me because she didn't even have custody at the time of his passing. So
Right.
I don't know why it would be her decision either. Like, I don't know why it would be her decision. I would think if anything, it would default to either Billy Joe or the father.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know if the father was even there, but
No, I don't think he was
she
there. But
wants
I'm
her
just saying.
brother to get them.
I just think it's weird that the court, like, I think that's why the court was like that. This will have to be, handled at
Yeah, it was odd to have that brought up, right?
right, because like, I mean, if you don't even have custody, like if you don't even have custody at the time that this incident occurred, why would it be your decision where the remains go? Especially when you're the one
That
that
killed him.
is, yeah, that's responsible for him not being alive. So
I
I
mean, I
don't think
remember them doing this in the Vallow case about JJ and Tylee's remains.
right.
And they held them all through trial and everything like that. And I know there's a time that they do bring up, releasing those, but I didn't know that it was still up in the air at that point who was going to get them. I mean, they've had 2 years to figure out, okay, when this is done, who's getting little Quinton? And they're like, oh,
Right.
they could take that up in probate or whatever the hell they said. And I'm like, what? So
Yeah.
he's still in the wings of the
Right.
state of Georgia.
Well, the Vallow case, though, she had at the time that her children were brutally murdered. She had custody, so I mean, there's, it's not it's a little bit different, but I mean, it's sad all around that there's no, you know, site for people to go and that loved little Quentin to go and pay their respects.
It's really sad. And then to hear Billy Joe was yelling at the neighbor, I know it was like before they knew he was actually deceased, but to hear the madness, you're not putting up a damn memorial or whatever. He's not dead, but he's dead now. And I don't hear that there's anywhere where anybody can, pay respects to little Quinton.
Yeah, it's. I think he was. I mean, he was failed all around, and it's just. It makes it. I'm trying not to cry because it's sad to think that, we have people that are literally women going through all these treatments to try to have a child, and then you get blessed to have a child, and you are, supposed to do everything you can to take care of that child and raise them right, and you know even putting your own life in front of their own.
Yes.
And then you have somebody like Leilani who just had no regard for the fact that Quentin was a blessing.
There's a memorial at the landfill, they said.
At the landfill?
The waste management company put up a memorial. I don't know if it's at the landfill or I don't.
Seems like, yeah. I mean,
yeah, I don't. That seems. I mean, I guess look at Casey Anthony, right? There was a memorial
Yeah.
where the baby was found.
Well, that was like down the street from where she lived.
Yeah, I don't know. Is
A little
it
different than the landfill.
No, I know. I feel like that's kind of weird, but
Oh, Lord.
what are you gonna do? I mean, it's just sad. Is that all he has, though? I mean, if that is true, good on them for doing something, but is that all he has?
I don't know. I guess at this time, I mean,
I guess
yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
So
it's
sad.
sad.
I wish they
It's
would have
sad.
painted a picture of Quentin, even though he was only 16 months old.
Right.
I wish they would have painted a picture of what his little life,
What he would be doing today.
Yes.
What, like, where he would be
Milestones.
developmentally, like what he would, would he be into like Ninja Turtles or would he be into Pokemon?
Right.
Like
He'd be looking
something
forward
like,
to Christmas right now, right?
yeah,
I mean, that
sitting with photos with Santa and, just all the things that he was robbed of.
Do you think it was different because this wasn't a jury decision for this? Like, it was a judge versus a jury. Do you think that's why it wasn't more with photos and more about Quinton?
Because
they like to play on, emotions for the jury, but they don't necessarily maybe want to do that to the judge, right?
Well, in a way, it's also knowing the judge too. You have to keep in mind, like, these people, these defense attorneys and these prosecutors, they also know the judge and how they like run their courtroom, so to speak. And so, that could have been, they could have known that it didn't matter if what they brought out in front of the judge, it wasn't going to make a difference. She was going to go by those guidelines. But I still would have done it anyways. I would have made her say, no, I'm not staying, like, I'm not going to make a statement and having to look at, his picture.
Yeah. It just makes a little more sense, though, that with not the presence of the jury, seeing all the photos and stuff. So sad. I just feel like remembering him is so important. This happens way
Right.
too often.
Right. It definitely
And
does.
like you said, the milestones that this child would have made in the last 2 years is tremendous. But from 2 to 4, how much do our children change and grow and learn and develop their personalities? I mean, if he was a little ham at 16 months, 4 years old, he's going to be a little ham, but he's going
Yeah.
to be in preschool and he's going to be coloring and learning to write his name. And I think it's just important to say those things out loud.
I do too. It's important to humanize. Sometimes, like, when you're in court and you're doing this every day as an attorney, or if you're doing this every day as a judge, you just start looking at things and, you you kind of almost, I hate to say it, you stop seeing them as people and they're just work. And that's a sad thing. That's a sad day. You've always got to remind yourself of why you went into that profession and why who you're fighting for. Um, and I would have liked to have seen that on the state
I have to
side.
say there was one time that I really got a nice visual of this baby, and it was her brother. And when he said, I know he was talking, trying to make excuses for his sister, saying, there was no abuse. There was, he didn't do this, he didn't do that, whatever. But he did say something about the little guy he was bow-legged. He could barely walk as it was, like, and I got a visual image looking at this picture of the little baby, just learning to walk and toddling around with his little bowed legs. And that was the only visual of Quinton I got today. And that's sad to me. I wish that I could have heard more. And I wish Leilani could have heard more. She's the one
Right.
that needs to hear it,
Right. She's the one that needs to be like, but I don't, does she really have any capacity for, like,
She doesn't
empathy
get
and
it.
remorse? And I don't, I feel like you could preach it all day, but she still is so wrapped up in denial and everything else. But still, I would have liked to have heard it regardless of
I don't even care who
what
said it,
impact.
I don't even
Yeah.
care who brought it to the table. But I just feel like for him, someone should have.
Right.
I mean, the only one they really had up there was the babysitter's daughter. And when I played the video of BJ busting in their door, that's her little daughter in the background. Can you imagine?
Right. It was just toxic. It was just a toxic.
So
And I
toxic.
mean, and I wonder, like, if, I know he was in her custody, if the stated and the DCS wants to leave them in a family member's custody, but clearly she wasn't a great choice either. Sometimes out of the home maybe is the best decision. So I just feel like he was um, completely failed by the system, by
Everyone.
Leilani, by BJ, everyone. Yeah.
It's so sad that so many adults can have contact with a child and ultimately they all fail them. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And that's where I'm like such an advocate of like if you see something, stand up and say something because children can't speak for themselves. Um and if we know of a child that's being mistreated and there are like, within our community, it's our responsibility um to kind of make sure this doesn't happen, that they don't become another Quinton Simon.
Yeah, another statistic.
Correct.
We see it every day. This has been a tough week, a tough month, really. Hearing about the Delphi girls and how brutal that was and not really feeling
then
like you have answers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was honestly, that I was in a public place when that, and I got to my car and I kind of I cried for everything, just the whole
What a
situation,
mess.
because it I I, I felt for everybody involved in that. Because I personally don't believe the burden was met. I don't.
And you know what
um
pisses me off the most? Is that the most important aspect that could have been taken from that case, which was the catfishing, was completely
Right.
left out. And no one talks about it, right? I mean, if anything, take their deaths and raise awareness by, you know, releasing the fact that Libby German was enthralled with Anthony's shots and had been talking to him for over a month. It's
Yeah.
so important. And it just irritates me that not only did it end the way it did, this sham of an investigation and trial, all of that is just so icky that that point is so important, especially now. That was 2017. Shit. Look at what's going
Yeah.
on now. That, I just think that could really, their deaths could raise some awareness and maybe save another teen from falling for that bullshit. Because that
I
Anthony
remember.
shots was so far out there. Like, now I think kids are smarter. You know what I mean? I think kids know more about catfishing, but they still fall for it every
For it.
day. And the kids are younger now that are falling for it.
Right, because they have access to phones at a much younger age than, we did
Yep.
too. And they can make and they know their ways around electronics. They get computer, like,
Fucking
okay, so if you don't have a
Roblox.
phone, you have the computer from school, like that you get from your
Mhm.
school and stuff. And I mean, I remember in AOL, like those chat rooms. There are chat rooms that were literally, I mean, they might as well have had a banner on it saying, press, predator
Right.
here looking for underage children. And then too, AOL, you'd have ASL, which was like, hey, okay, all right,
And
that
we
one's
did it.
underage.
And we totally did it. We were like, we were so happy. I wasn't underage though when AOL came out, you youngster. But I seen it. I seen it. And all the teens,
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, I'd go in the Michigan room. It'd be like age, sex, location. I'd be like 24F Michigan,
Right.
or whatever room you're in. Yeah. I didn't
Or
even
if
think
you'd
about the
say,
teens then,
yeah, I mean, as soon as I'd go in and like be like 14, so and so, like Alabama, all your freaking. I remember all the pop-ups of all the creepy old men that would start coming in.
So weird. AOL was creep town. And it's
And
only
now
gotten
they have,
worse,
yeah, now they've just become different. It's not Snapchat and,
Well, these
all these
kids,
other.
they have the Switch now, right? And they have
Yeah.
Roblox, and there's a way they could chat on these games on the Switch as well.
Yeah.
It's so many different avenues. It's crazy.
Right. It's important to preach awareness about that. I think it would be good to do a live one day.
I am going to go over the whole how Anthony, like, Keegan Klein thing because I think his story is important when it comes to
Yeah.
Delphi, even though it wasn't included as evidence in any way. I think it's still an important key in that whole case.
Right. Yeah, I do too. And even the Sebastian Rogers case potentially, you
Right.
know?
Right. Right. We just don't know.
Yeah, we just don't know. And I just mm, I think it's an important thing that we, you know, get parents. I think today a lot of parents want to be their kids' friends, not parents.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but it's important to remind parents that there are predators out there and this is how they access their children.
But you know what else is a problem too is that as someone who's older, the technology surpasses us. You know, like okay, here's something you'll laugh at me about. So my granddaughter comes over, she's 5, and she has an iPad at home. And she comes over and I let her play with my phone and she knows how to do everything in the little iMessages. Like she knows how to do these emojis and make them talk, like record herself and make her look like the emojis talking and then send it in a text. And I'm like, what? I'm like, where did you find that? I'm asking
Yeah.
a 5-year-old where this option is. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what is going on? But it's true.
I had this one TikTok when TikTok kind of first came, or I first joined it a long time ago, and I had a video made, and it was a 14-year-old was the only reason I knew how to make the video was because the 14-year-old did it for me.
Oh my
Like
God. That's so funny.
my friend's 14-year-old child, like that we were over visiting. He
Right.
was the one that set it up. I'm like, I don't know how to do any of this.
Isn't that funny? I asked my daughter who's 24, I'm like, are you good at making TikTok videos? She's like, no, I watch TikTok. I don't know how to make them. I'm like, dude, you're young. You're supposed to know how to do these things. She's like, no. So it's
Right.
crazy. It's the teens.
Right. And they're
And the
so
5-year-olds.
vulnerable.
And the 5-year-olds.
Yeah. All of which are vulnerable.
Very, very much so. It's just a very important topic. I think we never need to, let escape our minds on the daily since phones are such a big part of our lives. My granddaughter who's 5 said, I said, what do you want from Santa this year? She said an iPhone. I said, you're not getting an iPhone. She started laughing. I said, you can get an iPhone when you're 18. She doesn't even understand that. But I'm like, what do you need an iPhone for?
Right.
You have an iPad. Like, that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
But, a lot of parents are, both working, especially now. Things are
Right.
tough. Maybe picked up an extra shift or an extra job. And the electronics, unfortunately,
Become the babysitter.
Right.
That becomes the parent for a while.
And you can't trust these security measures because these kids know how to get past them.
Oh, yeah, they definitely do. I don't
I don't
but
either.
They do.
You lock me out.
They
I don't
do.
even know how to recover my damn password, okay? Or my passcode. I'd have trouble with that. But they can get past all of this stuff.
Yeah. They know how to get into the things that I don't, blow my mind. And yeah. You've got to educate yourself on it so that you can, see if there's ways to hide apps on your phone and,
Yes.
just even doing a stream where we educate parents on, or where there's some education on ways to find those quote unquote hidden apps that children download,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my son and I are going to do one because people were asking about the video game aspect. He's 26, but he's been a gamer since, he was in elementary, middle school. And, we talked to, ask him questions all the time. Like, do you ever see people trying to talk to younger kids? He's never seen it, but he is willing to talk about how kids get past things on the video game consoles and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was one thing that came out, I think when we were following Sebastian, was that he told me that if you don't log in, like, let's say Sebastian wanted to use Seth's counsel without his knowledge, and he had like his own username, he could just log in as himself on Seth's counsel, log out when he's done, and Seth would never know. And that was something I didn't know. So there's a lot of little ins and outs that parents aren't aware of. It's scary.
That's very true. That's very true. We've got to become more educated, like as adults. We've got to become more educated and more involved in the lives of children.
Agreed.
So,
well, I think I'm going to wrap this one up. And
yeah, thanks for having me up.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming up. If you guys missed UA first coming up, she was so kind to use her legal knowledge and explain a little bit of what Leilani's sentence meant. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And happy 6 years, Jay.
Oh, thank you. Yes, the podcast is 6 years old today. Or not today, but this month. Today on Facebook, I got a little video. So my Facebook page, I must have created it 6 years ago today. But thank you, UA. Always a pleasure.
No problem. All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You guys give it up for UA Crimson Tide. Always a pleasure having her up. She's so smart. She's a smart cookie. Well, thank you guys for joining today. I don't know if you feel like there was justice. I mean, I feel like the fact that she's not going to be getting out or even talked about getting out for 40 years, even if it was 30 years, I think it's good news. We don't have to hear about her, hopefully. Yes, give UA some love in the chat. Southern-ish, you had a really good super chat that I want to read. Southern-ish said, I don't know if Leilani is in denial. I'm not sure she can honestly feel anything. Narcissism runs dark and deep with people. She can't feel anything unless it's about her. My eyes will be swollen until Sunday. Oh, Southern-ish. Thank you for your super chat. And thank you for having such a big heart. You guys are all amazing people. You guys are all here for the victims. You always are. So let's put little Quinton up front and center, shall we? And I'm going to say goodbye, and we're going to take a moment of silence before we dance this one out. We'll run our credits and dance it out. So you guys can continue chit-chatting for a few minutes, and I can say goodbye in the chat. But let's take a moment of silence for little Quinton. And I want to thank you personally for being here today. This won't be our last one that's going to be hard, but let's take a moment and just remember little Quinton. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this live stream or video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on my latest content. Want to take it a step further?
Bring it all in.
And join our community clickers by becoming a Patreon or a YouTube member. You'll get exclusive access to our Discord server, special channel perks, and much more. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.
Click, 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 click. It's real easy, man.
I don't give a damn. I don't talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. 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 You wanna be with me. You wanna feel something real, but I'm feeling differently. You're making plans to get to France, but don't wanna face the fact that I ain't got time, I ain't got time, I ain't got time for that. Staying up late, sleeping all day, dreaming about Cadillacs. Buying new shoes, hanging by the pool, sipping on Coke and Jack. Calling my phone when you feel alone, but I'll never call you back. 'Cause I ain't got time, I ain't got time, I ain't got time for that. I don't give a damn, I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. 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 You're mad at me for not giving you comfort. You say that I'm away so much and now you don't feel the way you felt when we were younger. But that's okay for me, 'cause I don't give a damn. I don't really care about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. You talk way too much. I have heard enough about you and your problems. I don't give a damn. 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 I don't give a damn.
Psychopathy.
You guys want one, Jennifer, or two?